Do it. We're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to War Game Wednesday with your boy Red Dawn Readiness and Jay, the Modern Minuteman. We'll be right back with you.
You look pretty cool though.
Spend a little bit of light trying to find my heart. Funny when I break out a lifestyle dark. Honey when I rank in a tight flow spark. When a psycho drop, playing dice go starter. Who are you? Better know yourself. Know your soul, gotta know your wealth. Slow your mind, get know your milk. Don't you fall me like hell. Who am I me? I'm not the one you wanna fuck with. Late nights messing up my sleep, so I'm flustered. Taking out aggression with my pen because I trust it. Letting try to get myself a lamb color touch for the game.
What's going on, everybody? If that doesn't get you guys in the mood, I don't know what I can do for you. But I'm really glad we got Jay here, the Modern Minuteman, author of the Civilian Manual #9 from the Professional Citizen Project. It's an honor to have you here, Jay. How's it going tonight?
Good. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show. I appreciate you inviting me.
Thanks, man. I know we've been trying to coordinate it for a little while, but like we said,
Yeah.
life gets crazy.
Absolutely.
Say hi to some people in the chat. What's up, Kurt24, first one in the building, Gunslinger, Toy Town Inc., Scoot, Missouri Survival and Outdoors, Loretta Hooch. Good to see you guys. So yeah, I mean, we've been waiting for this one for a little while. I see you're in the ready room. If you guys didn't catch his video about the 5 minutes to get ready. What is your favorite thing about your ready room? That because you put it together. What is like the one thing where you're like, man, I'm really glad I put this right here, or I built this little extra nook or something.
You know what? I think it's this whole, like, these couple of top shelves.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the way, like, literally the way it all started was I literally garbage picked a cabinet. I was driving to work one morning and there was this huge wooden cabinet on the side of the road. And I drive a big truck for work. So I would put it in reverse, backed up, threw it in the back of the truck, and I came home, and that's what's hiding behind this door over here. And I built a new door for it and then built the whole cabinet around it. And that was really, and it all started off with one of those pictures of like one of those tactical, like ready boxes that you would see the guys have overseas, where they have their plate carrier and chest rig and boots and helmet, all their kit is ready to go. And so I just started building, I just started building out from it. That was my inspiration for it. And it's kind of like what you and I were talking about before we started. Like once I was focused on it, like I wasn't going to stop until it was finished.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I got really lucky, and I had a friend. He was building himself out a gun room, and he had all this slat wall. And he was like, dude, I'm done. You want all this extra slat wall? And I was like, absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
And I
awesome.
I always had like a locked closet that I've put a bunch of locks on to keep my kids out of it. But it was always so unorganized. And so I put all the slat wall in this closet. So I have a ready closet. I don't have a ready room.
Very cool.
I have a ready closet.
Very good. And I know the day is going to come here in a few years where, the end goal is to move in a couple of years. So I know, like, I'm going to have to redo it all. So it's
yeah.
It is what it is.
That's my goal as well. And hopefully, everything doesn't crash before I get a chance to.
Right.
But That's the goal
Absolutely.
for me. I got to get somewhere. You have all that great scenery on your channel, and that's my goal. I got to get out to the woods and nature and just get away from cities and suburbs and
Yep.
everything surrounding it.
Absolutely. I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
So if you guys did notice in the new intro there, I did create a second channel, and YouTube has been messing with my channel here. I've done everything to be monetized. I've crushed all their numbers, and I appreciate every single one of you guys out there for supporting this channel. But unfortunately, YouTube isn't as supportive as the rest of you out there. So I'm having to start a second channel. I was gonna live stream from both tonight, and you need like 50 subs to live stream, which I passed in the first 24 hours. So appreciate you guys who followed that channel. It was Red Dawn Survival, and I changed the name to Red Dawn Republic because we need that word out there a lot. Unfortunately, Joe Biden was using it here in his artificial intelligence farewell speech, but we know he doesn't mean it. So I'm going to drop the link if you guys aren't following the second channel. Eventually, we will move kind of everything over to that channel. We'll do dual live streams, and I'll be dropping a lot more content over there. But with this channel, stay tuned because now I'm off my leash because I'm not able to get monetized anyway over here. So I'll be putting anything that I feel is risky on this one.
Right on.
Good to see you, Miss Sharon. Thank you. If you want to drop the Modern Minuteman's channel, if you guys are not following Jay, you have to. He puts out all kinds of great content. Really one of the dudes out there who gives you a mass amount of variety in his content, whether it's camo, gear, rucking ideas. And Jay, tell us a little bit about your experience, because I know you went over it on Randall's channel, which I did watch your live with Randall.
Yes.
But you have a lot of outdoors experience.
So yeah, so it really all started, I mean, when I grew up an Army kid. We were in scouts, we did tons of camping, a very outdoor oriented, rock climbing, skiing, things like that. And when I graduated from high school, I went on a 10-day backpacking trip out west, and just totally, that was like the bug bit me. And
Nice.
and I went on to kind of, I be I worked for a couple of different retailers. I started teaching and guiding courses and classes, and then I started working on attaining certifications and accreditations. And it got to the point where I started up my own little guide service for a few years. It was called
Nice.
Backcountry Adventures Outdoor School. So that was fun. And then the bottom dropped out of the economy, and nobody was wanting to spend money to be taking on a camping trip around the country. So that
Yeah.
kind of
Thanks,
that
Joe
that,
Biden.
that ended. Yeah, it was really too bad, but it was just timing was all. But I got to work for some great companies. Did some consulting work for for a couple different companies, couple different stores.
Very
And
cool.
it all it ended several years ago, where finally, like, I mean, my kids were getting older, and my wife even said to me, she's like, it's time for a grown-up job. Like, it's like I had a very good run there for a long time. And it
Nice.
was good. I mean, I got to do a lot of cool things, go to a lot of cool places, meet a lot of cool people. And really,
What was your favorite place you ever backpacked in?
I would by far Colorado. That's
Yeah.
like the San Juan Mountains in southwestern Colorado. That's by far. It's just, I mean, it's rugged, it's pretty, it's
Nice.
incredibly, there's the risks are very rewarding as far as the outcomes of it go. Super cool little mountain towns. By far, that's where it is. But I had taken a group of customers there on a not the southwest Colorado, but central Colorado, on a 7-day climbing trip. And my wife came with me to help out, like to kind of act as like the base camp person for the
Excellent.
trip. And when we were done and we dropped all the customers off at the airport, we drove to Telluride and spent a week in Telluride. And that was just like, we would sit there every day looking through the newspaper, looking for jobs. Like, how can we make this happen? Just such a beautiful place. But yeah, by far that's that. And my second most favorite would have to be the Adirondacks in upstate New York.
Wow.
It's too bad that the Adirondacks have to be in the middle of a communist hellhole. But upstate New York is definitely different than the lower half of the state. So it's all good.
I got a friend, hopefully he's out there listening, but he's a New Yorker, and all he talks about is his family and these mass amount of acres they have up there, and he loved it. I mean, he's a New Yorker though, you know.
Yeah.
And he would spend weeks at a time up there in those mountains and stuff. And my family's originally from New Jersey, so
Okay.
which is the armpit of America, so called.
That's funny you say that because being in Ohio, we've always called Ohio the armpit of America.
Really?
It's right where, because you figure it's right where the Great Lakes are right here.
Yes.
So that's funny that you guys call New Jersey the armpit of America. That's funny.
Yeah, well, mostly New Yorkers call it that.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like, I guess that's how we feel about people from Michigan. So it's the same.
That's funny. Have you ever what is the craziest terrain you've ever been in that was just, have you ever got to go in Arizona or Utah?
So I've been in Utah.
Okay.
I've been throughout like Canyonlands, Bryce and Zion, up north in Dinosaur National Monument,
Nice.
Flaming Gorge Reservoir, the Uinta Mountains. Utah's a great, I think a great state. Little weird, when you drive down the highway and you see a billboard sign that's from Squatters Brewery that says "Polygamy Porter brings them home to the wives." That's you're in a little bit of a different state,
Definitely.
But like the most rugged, I would have to say probably the peaks up in the Cascades in Oregon and Washington. I think for how close those big glaciated peaks are to big population centers, it's so easy to get into trouble. It really, really is. So that's probably the gnarliest, most dangerous terrain I've been in, I would have to say.
Very cool. So when you're up, have you ever kind of slept out on a peak or anything, or do you normally come back down to sleep, or you sleep up there?
No, sleep up there, absolutely. Whether it's on a glacier or a rock ledge or bivvying out somewhere. Yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of it. That's for sure. I've spent more than my fair share of nights in those kinds of situations. But it's just when you know what you're doing and you take all the safety precautions, it's really not that bad. It's quite enjoyable actually. So, and it's cool like to be able to wake up at 4:00 in the morning and you start seeing the sunrise over all the far peaks, and it's just you and maybe one or two other people that are waking up on the glacier. It's super, and it's so quiet and cold, and there's definitely something special about it.
There's just like when you listen to, at least for me, when I listen to like my favorite music or something super calming or just that connects with you, waking up, I don't know what it is about the morning time in those type of environments, but when you wake up and you're just immersed in nature, it's such a similar feeling to listening to your favorite music ever.
It is. It almost like it's like I equate it to like it's almost on the same level as so I'm a big coffee drinker. To me, it's almost on the same level as like when you wake up and that first bit of coffee hits your lips, and you're the only one awake in the house, and it's just like, it's
it's a great feeling.
It's like this. It's like euphoric feeling for, even if it's for 5 seconds. It's your 5 seconds, and no one else is sharing it with you. That
Absolutely.
I'm right on the same page with you on that for sure.
I'm a big time coffee drinker, and I like my morning coffee, and I like my coffee when I get home from work. I like to relax for just that 5 minutes, have a new cup of
Right.
coffee. Um, and then once I get all my kids to bed too, I have another euphoric few minutes of
I remember those days. You finally get them down, and you like you and your wife, you look at each other, and you're like,
Yep.
all right, now we can come down off the ledge now. It's and then we'll just repeat it
Yes.
tomorrow for sure.
The one super positive thing is, the love is incomparable. The love for your children is
Absolutely.
you can't compare it to anything in the world.
No,
And
you can't.
yeah, it's the most special thing I've ever experienced. Uh and then also it makes time fly by.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Like I know my oldest starts her freshman year in college here in a month. Like where the hell did that time go? Like
Right?
holy cow. I mean, and my son just got his driving temps a couple weeks ago. So,
Wow.
you got that happening. You're like, geez, oh man, like let's slow down here, guys. Like, for as much as
Yes.
for as excited as we all are for them to be doing their things, still, like I don't know, just those it was a simpler time when they would sit on your lap, and I mean, I mean, you're right
Yeah.
in the middle of it all. You get it.
Yes, and I pray every day that it takes a long time for me to get to that point. I wanted to slow down a little bit already. I'm like, no, my daughter driving, leaving the house. No, my boys,
Yeah.
go, son, go. My daughter, no,
Right.
she's.
Absolutely.
And I grew up in a house full of guys. Like I'm the youngest of three boys, so
Oh, okay.
I got to see everything before everyone else because I was the last one. So like when my oldest
Right.
brother was having his first girlfriend and he was bringing a girl home and all this, like I'm young seeing all that. So yeah, I'm very, very much protective over my daughter and my wife, she's the oldest in her family. So there's this whole like, no, 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 it doesn't really work like that.
Oh,
Let me,
absolutely. Different experiences, that's for
yeah,
sure. And different d- growing up in a different spot in the pecking order of things.
yeah, yeah. And my son, he's right below my daughter, and I sometimes she'll be messing with him and bullying him, and I was like, "You see how that works?" I was like, "Imagine having two older brothers instead of one older sister who's right there.
Right.
Imagine how much the bullying is like times 1,000."
For
So she
sure.
sees it now more, having your own kids and stuff. You see it a
Yeah.
lot more. Hey,
Right
Rip
on.
Curl Readiness. I tried to add you as a moderator now like 4 times. So I don't know why it's not taking. I hit it a few times on the phone because I don't know how to do it from StreamYard. Maybe I can do it from the desktop, but I'd like to have you as a mod. So we'll get there, brother. You can hit me up anytime. And make sure you guys are subbed up to the Modern Minuteman. Um, he's got an awesome channel, man. I'm always checking what he's got going on and what he's putting out
Thanks. I
anytime.
go, it's funny. I go through phases on my channel. Like I'll put out, I'll put out a bunch of content in a short period of time, and then I'll go a month of nothing. And it's
Yeah.
just like in, you talk to people who do this, I don't want to say full time, but do it on a more regular basis, and they're like, oh, you gotta set it up where like you pre-film a whole bunch, and you organize it where it's like, okay, like every Tuesday night is you're releasing this, and every this night you're releasing this, and I'm like,
Yeah. I ca-
I'm a lot
I
of it's
can't
on the
do
fly and in
it.
the
Me too.
moment, and yeah, or if it's something that like I always have like I keep a notebook of ideas written
Yep.
down, and then a lot of it's just waiting for the timing. Like, okay, I'm gonna wait the next time I go out to camp with so and so, I'm gonna do this. Um, stuff like that, or even
Yeah.
I'm horrible at this, but I mean, I've gotten to the point where I have companies who send stuff, or I'm able to request things to do reviews
Nice.
on. And then like a month later, you're getting the email. They're like, "Hey, just checking in. Are you ready for that review?" And I'm like, "Oh crap! Like I just haven't had time to do it. You work
Yeah.
a full time job with a full time family, and a
Some
lot of times
reviews
just happens
are
when it
easier
happens.
than others too. Like shout out to Goonbeam, I got you. I filmed some content for filming with the night vision and your IR lights to show off how awesome they are. Your IR lights are fantastic. I know you told me that I should initially just got the high powered one, and I'm glad I got both of them. I appreciate you very much. But the low powered one is insane under night vision. I'm like, this is incredible. So I recorded a bunch of content, but now I want to re-record it. So I will eventually get there. But yeah, there's certain ones like that. I'm like, dang, I've been trying to put this video together, but like I have to film with a monocle and then
Right.
upload it with a chip and edit it. It's a lot different than like, here, this is a bag.
Yeah, you can't just show and tell it. There's so much more involved with it.
Yes.
For sure.
And the one thing that I've really been consistent with is my lives. So like I've been Wednesdays and Fridays now for a few months.
That's cool that you're able to do that.
Yeah, it's like my wife knows Wednesdays and Fridays, get them off to bed a little early and I'll see you when they get done.
Very cool.
Yeah. So what made you, or not even what made you, around what time did you go from like outdoorsman backpacking to like transitioning to that Minuteman philosophy?
It was 2016. I made the switch. That was, I mean, like I just know that was the year.
Me too.
It
The
was,
volatility.
I mean, yep, absolutely. That was a big part of it. And and it's funny, like somebody like me and the family that I grew up in, how I didn't venture into this so much, growing up as an Army kid with my dad and my uncles being extremely avid shooters and military firearm collectors and gear collectors. And I mean, I got dragged around the whole gun show circuits in the area. Like, how in the world did I not just continue
maybe
down
you were
that
just
path?
around it so much that it wasn't like the passion of it, like it was like a thing.
You might be right. It was like whatever, that's you almost like you took it for granted in a way, if that makes any sense. But 2016 I was kind of coming out of the everything to do with being in the outdoors, and I was really slowing down with that. And I was working with a guy at the time who had just retired from the Army. He was a Army Green Beret contractor, that whole deal. And he we chit-chatted, and he took me out shooting, and that led to going out shooting again, and that led to buying a pistol and putting a battle belt together. And then I saw Nuttin' Fancy's Minuteman prerogative video, and I was just like, down the hole I went. But you know what though, like especially that Nuttin' Fancy, and it's funny, so many of us go back to that video because they were like, that's the moment. Like that was, it resonated so deeply with me that it was like, all right, I'm making a change. And at that same time in 2016, I turned 40 that year. I was I was truly, I guess if I was going to go through a midlife crisis, that was my year of a midlife crisis. I wasn't a very enjoyable person to be around here at home. That was the year that I decided to accept Jesus Christ. And that was a huge change that year for me. And it was a year that ups and downs, and it drove me to my knees that year. And so that was like, hey, if this is gonna be a new light for me, I'm going all in, and I'm gonna just give it everything I've got. And not just with this, but with my wife, my kids, the whole gamut. Like if I'm doing it, we are all in.
For sure.
So yeah, it's all
my story's similar. I really got into it in 2016. I've told this story a lot, but I've always been an avid Alex Jones like listener. Like I've always listened since I was in high school. Like 2 years after 9/11, I was listening to Alex Jones and like pulling up his predictions on it and him talking about the Patriot Act and all that stuff. And then I got with my wife and we had been living together for a little while, and Alex Jones was still on YouTube in 2016.
Okay.
And we were in our apartment and I'd watch Alex Jones all the time. And I kind of took for granted the prepping aspect of it as well, because I had always watched Alex Jones and he was always like, get your water filters and make sure you're storing up this, you know? So
Right.
I was like, oh, that's just Alex Jones, you know? And then the election and like the first half of that eclipse, that the one that crossed America with an X.
Oh yeah. Yep.
There was another eclipse. I think it was 2017. And around that time, I just saw the hatred for both sides, Hillary and Trump, just like both sides getting very polarized.
Mhm.
Where like even with Trump and Bush and Al Gore, right? Like there was a lot of back and forth on whether he stole the election in Florida or what happened, but they
Right.
didn't like hate each other. There were
Yeah.
some people who, you know, were bought in at the climate stuff then with all the Al Gore climate movies and all this stuff.
Yep.
And there were some people who were starting to get that way, but it still wasn't like what we have today. And yeah, so around that time, I started prepping. I really didn't get into firearms. I always had just like a pistol or two. And I was like, that's good. Like, I feel like I'm not going to be in like a massive war gunfights. Like I have two pistols. I always have them next to the bed. I didn't carry outside the house or anything like that.
Right.
And now looking back, like I feel totally like my balls are hanging out if I don't have a gun on me. You know, it's the
Absolutely.
weirdest feeling.
Well, I
Like
joke about it with
even
my
now,
wife.
sitting in my house, like I never take it off. And since I had a daughter, that happened. Like after I had a daughter,
Okay.
I was like, I saw her face, and like I said, I came from a house of men where it was always like, no one's gonna come in our house, we'll pummel them.
Yeah.
But then when I had a daughter, I just that switch flipped, and I went from not just prepping to like preparing to be like Liam Neeson in Taken was like my mindset.
Right. Absolutely. Like at all costs.
At all costs.
You know, that's yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I know there's times where my wife and I will joke about it, and I'll be like, there's times where and I'm gonna say this now, and we're gonna laugh about it because of recent events, but like I'm out with the family, I feel like I'm the freaking Secret Service watching over everybody. You know, now, you know, from what happened a couple weeks ago, now it's a joke and you think about it differently, but that's how I feel
Yeah.
when I'm out with my family, because I feel you just
For sure.
you have that responsibility, but you're so uber aware of everything.
Mhm.
Like it is just you just never know. So I'd rather be
Yeah.
overly cautious than oblivious, I guess.
And you know what? Now that you paint that picture, I'm just gonna run with it. But like, I'm sure guys who carry every day and live the lifestyle of preparedness saw that whole event. Like in my mind, I mean, I guess there's some because I've talked to some, but like, there is no way you drop the ball that bad. There's just
Right.
no way. When you have a team
No.
of men, it's not possible. Right there,
Yeah.
like the only spot where it would be perfect. Come on.
Like that service does nothing but train for that moment. And all these years of training for that moment, and you mess up that bad. Come on. Like,
Something's
you
fishy
know,
there.
no. I mean, that's
What's up, John Crump News, man? Appreciate you swinging through my lives, my brother. Joe VQ. You know you guys are the best. Pilgrim, Savage Lee. Appreciate you guys coming through. James Lynch, Miss Sharon. Always thank you for being a great moderator. But yeah, there's that. This one is like, but it just seems now like it's like event after event. How many people were like Biden's like the video of Vivek Ramaswamy? Man, that's gold now. The one at the debate where he says, "Stop playing with us. When are you? Who are
Yes.
you guys gonna run as your real president? Because we know Biden's stepping down." That was
Right.
almost a year ago.
I mean, people just it's all it's to the point where it's not even funny anymore.
Yeah, it's
All of
not.
these things we've called out over the last couple of years, to see it all come true on a daily basis. And you're at the point now where you're like, I had said this to my sister-in-law one day. I'm like, it's to the point now where we're not even conspiracy theorists. We're freaking prophets at this point. I
Pretty
mean,
much,
just
yes.
I just don't get it. And the fact that everyone else is so, I'm not going to say blind to it. They're well, no, they are, because their heads are in the sand, their heads are buried in the sand, and
Mhm.
they don't want to believe that it's happening, that
Yeah.
this is the reality. Like, really, like, you have this rosy colored picture of what the United States of America is and what our government is and all this other stuff, and to accept the reality of it would completely ruin everyone's preconceived notions of what they previously believed. And I think and
Yeah.
I'll have people say this to me. They were like, why doesn't, like, Jay, you don't seem phased by this. You don't seem bothered by it. Because I realized a few years ago, I accepted the fate. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, I accepted the fate that we are going to suffer this horrible crash. And I've put I've put myself in the viewpoint of, okay, I can't worry about the crash because there's zero I can do to stop it. But
Yeah.
I can do everything in my power to help me and my family get out of it. So,
Yeah,
like,
and the longer you do it and the more you kinda go through that phase where you did spend time worrying, you're like, all that did was slow down my level of preparedness or make me
yeah,
tired or make me feel aged more at the time, and it's like,
yep.
I can be better prepared if I don't worry about it.
Right. So
So,
I think, really, like, it's easier once you accept what our fate is. It's so much easier to move beyond that and to just
mhm,
move to the next phase. Like, I'm like, in my mind, I'm on phase 4 and 5.
mhm.
Phase one is the crash. Okay, it
Yeah.
is what it is. Nothing you and I can do about
I'm
it.
sure if I pulled it up, it's probably similar to, like, the stages of grief, like,
Yeah,
if we
right.
look at them side
Exactly.
by side.
So I'm not going to waste time or, emotionally, mentally, physically worrying about that stuff, because it just doesn't matter. So therefore, I worry about the things I can prepare for. And, like, and just the other night we were talking about it here in the house, and it's like, we know that here we're going to come out of this okay. Like, it may
Mhm.
not be pretty, but we've done all the right things to come out of this okay. Like,
Yep,
and we just have to accept the fact that it's gonna get ugly and it's gonna be bad. And
yep.
it just we know that we will come out on the other side of it, and it'll be all right.
Yeah, and I still with my location and certain things, I still concern myself with certain stuff that I need to move around and do, but I have a great network of people and plans where I can leave and bug out
Hmm.
too, and I've done every possible thing I can, and then faith comes into it, is like
Yep.
I just trust in Christ, and whatever be will be, and he knows that I'll give my all to make sure that everybody's okay. So
Yeah.
um that's all you can do is plan. When you try your best and you plan and you make all these preparations, you get to the point where it's like part of those stages, but you live with the work you put in, and you feel
Right.
like we've done everything we possibly can to be ready.
Yes, absolutely. For sure. Like, it's almost like, I forget who I said this to. It's like, you remember in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where they're fighting on the little wooden boat, and the propellers of the big tanker are behind
Yes,
them.
yes.
And Harrison Ford's character is like, are something about, we're gonna die. Are you ready to die, or whatever? And the other guy, the guy who was one of the protectors of Christ or whatever, he made the comment. It's like, my soul's been prepared. How about yours, Dr. Jones? I'm like,
Yep.
my soul is prepared. That's
100%.
and I'm good.
I'm the same way, like I want to get my kids. My biggest fear is not being there to protect them until they're old enough to
Yeah.
protect themselves. But other than that, I know that if something was to take me out, it's going to be something tough because I ain't going down easy.
Right? Absolutely.
So that's the way I look at it, and yeah, we do the best that we can.
Yep,
Did you
that's
get
all
a
you can
chance
do.
to just watch Biden's final address?
I did. So I watched it, and now I'm literally like scratching my head watching it, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, this is nothing but a campaign speech you're giving. Like you're not,
Mhm.
you gave nobody no reasons whatsoever. You
Yep.
just gave a weak-handed attempt at a campaign speech that I guess at the end of it, I said to myself, what the hell did I just watch? Because it was nothing. Like it was nothing.
It looked a little artificial intelligence or something looked a little off to me.
Well,
I don't know if
did
it
you
was the green
notice?
screen or his
Did you
ears would
notice?
move. Did you
I
see it?
noticed I did see that, but I noticed his voice change right in the
It
middle of it.
did. It did.
Yes, like I remember, like in fact, like I perked up because he had this washy, wispy, struggling voice, and then
Yep.
it literally went like this, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, wait a second, like who's talking now?
Uh-huh.
Like where'd that come from? Like did the drugs kick in at that moment? Like literally like the adrenaline shot they gave him like kicked in 15 minutes late.
So
It was weird.
my theory would be is that he's either gone already or he's alive and he's doing horrible.
Yeah.
And he had a mental breakdown for the fact that they really were like, Joe, you're not running. And
Right.
he's probably in his pajamas and sitting in front of a green screen, and then they just change everything else around him and his clothes and everything to make it look like
Right.
he's not there in his pajamas.
And then just told him to read what was on the teleprompter.
Correct. I
Yeah.
think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth.
I really think like I think that whoever his handlers are, like literally they came to him and they're like, look, this is the release we're putting out for you. This is what you're gonna say. Boom, boom, boom. And he just
Yep.
goes right along with it, because he's incapable of making any decision on
And
his own.
now it even could have been if they have that technology, like the deep fake technology, it could have been somebody completely different where they
Yeah.
change the voice to sound like Biden and they change what you see to look like Biden. But we're at that level of technology that
Oh
it,
yeah, where it's hard, you can't tell the difference in most cases. And who's
yep,
gonna have the who's gonna have the absolute best? It would probably be the government. As far as
absolutely.
access to the absolute, movie quality,
Yeah.
type of thing. I wouldn't put it. It's anything's possible, and that's the horrible thing is anything's possible. I mean, we can spitball it all night long, and they're all possible.
Yeah. So you being an author yourself, have you ever read the book Behold a Pale Horse?
No, I have not.
Okay.
No.
You got to add that one to the reading list.
All right.
It's one of my favorites. I'm sure the chat knows who wrote it, but I forget his name. He's like the Alex Jones before Alex Jones.
Okay.
And it's just about the lies and deception like 30 years in
Oh, okay.
advance.
Gotcha.
And their contingency plans and stuff like that. But we're at the point where you don't know if anything's real. Even the Trump assassination attempt, at first glance, I was like, is this real?
Right? Isn't that crazy that was like for a lot of us, like that was the first or second thing. First thought was, holy crap, this is happening. And then the second thought was, but is it? Like,
Exactly.
did did what just happen really happen, or am I watching something different? Like, because it's amazing how we're almost conditioned to go straight to that, right? Right
Yeah.
now,
I
because
mean, the
once
whole
again,
like
anything's possible.
anything's possible, and the whole picture perfect, like Trump, like I had it there in the intro, but like Trump being like,
Oh yeah,
and the picture with the American flag in the back, like it's just so perfect that it's like, Could it be
Like,
staged?
really? Well, and then you add on top of that, what's the the Secret Service chick who couldn't put her gun in her holster, and the one who's fixing her
Just like
sunglasses,
look
and
really stupid on camera, so we can just
yeah,
say that we
it was
suck.
like, wait a second, like this is like a Benny Hill, like a Benny Hill skit somehow. Like, how the hell is this happening? Like, the
Yeah,
dude just got his ear shot off, and then now this is going on. They're like, no, like this can't be real. Like that's so
yeah,
stupid, and this is so like the ineptness is so visible. Like that
yeah.
can't be real. Like, really?
That's the
But
feeling that you get, because you're like,
yeah,
dude, I know a few guys on Signal. We could have just met the first day and been better at this than these guys. Like,
right.
how is this possible? You guys got a money printer, you tax us to death. Like, this is really the best stuff you could put on for
Yeah.
us.
Like, this is crazy. I just I don't know. I don't know. It's literally like living in La La Land, I guess.
How funny. Rip Curl Crump added a eagle landing on Trump's arm to that picture. It was epic. Yeah, like that's the kind of level of like, how perfect could this be if an eagle would have
Like the
landed on
moment
his
he
arm?
was doing this, an eagle comes flying down and lands on his fist.
That's hilarious. Good to see you,
Oh
Virginia
my
Roots
goodness.
Prepper Book Club. Independent, many united, nation in decline. Teresa Buchanan, you guys are the best, man. Appreciate you guys coming through. But yeah, I mean, it's just the craziest, and I think some of us who've been doing this a while, we know that there's way more on the table still yet to be
Oh
played.
my goodness. Yeah, you almost don't even want to think about it because it's just going to happen. And I still don't. We were talking about this over the weekend with when we were out at our camp. I mean, it's gonna get worse, obviously. But like, are we really gonna see an election? Like, do we see it? I don't know. Like, so my wife was asking me this. She's like, so what happens if I forget exactly what it was, but something about like how exactly could they suspend an election or whatnot? And I'm like, well, I said there are things written into the Constitution where they can do it. I said there's pieces they have to move around and different things they have to enact. I said, but they could. I said, and I said
A
it's
full
scary to
on
think
red
about it.
a full on Red Dawn would do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. So I mean, and right now, I mean, for the next 4 or 5 months in our country, I mean, there's a huge power void right now.
mhm.
Like, and think about all the other actors around the world who are just dying at the chance to take advantage of that void. And now's the time. Like, you have to expect all these different, national players to start making moves now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
they
mean, I
really,
think I said it the other day, like, even if Trump wins, we're 6 months away from him getting to that role.
yeah,
And then we gotta see, like, last time he was the president, they shut the world down and
yep,
changed everything. So it's like, what levels would
right,
they go to this time to prevent him from doing the things that we all want him to do as the president? Um,
yes,
and I know there's a lot of people out there that say, a Red Dawn type situation would never happen, really, we would never be invaded. But now, once you let in 30 million people from
the
all
in,
over the world,
the invasion's already done happened.
yes,
It's it's just them getting the green light to act is all. When you
correct.
really think about it, that's that part, the invasion part's already that's already happened. So yeah,
Our
I don't know.
favorite modern frontiersman in the building, everyone. Yeah, I mean, the invasion's taking place. I mean, they didn't even need parachutes. They just waltzed
No,
on
just
in.
walked across and get get our social security money. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was it's funny. I was explaining this to my daughter the other night, and we're good. We have very open discussions in my house about
Good.
things that are going on in the world. So the kids are very like
Yes.
the dinner time hour into the early evening hour. Like it is, we talk a lot as a family, just whatever's on each other's minds. And so
Cool.
my daughter said
Which
something.
just to say, I think that's great for one purpose too, is your kids most likely, if you have these discussions, they won't marry a liberal. They'll be like,
Right?
nah.
Absolutely. So my daughter asked a question, and I don't remember exactly what the question was, but it was talking about, she said something about abortion and something about fascism. And so we started having this serious conversation about a couple of issues. And because this will be her first year to vote. So
Wow.
she's really struggling with that responsibility.
Gotcha.
So we kept, and so she's not a fan of Trump's at all, because she doesn't like him as a person. She doesn't like Biden, obviously. She doesn't like Harris. So we were trying to tell her, we were like, look, you can't always, you can't vote for the person. You have to vote for the ideas. You have to vote for
Mhm.
the values. Who most closely aligns with your values and principles? I said, you, in this moment in time, you
Yeah.
have to take a deep look into your hearts and say, okay, these are my values, these are my principles. Who is going to protect those values and principles the most for who I'm going to vote for? I said, who cares if the person's a scumbag or an adulterer or whatever? I said
Trust
that
me,
does
they
not
all
matter.
are.
Yeah, they all are, right. I said, so don't think of it as, oh, I hate Trump. I said,
Mhm.
but think about who just aligns most closely with what you believe in. I said, and even
Yeah.
if you have to pick one or two top button topics, like that's all that it takes. And that was where my wife even said, she was like, her hot button topic is, how are you spending my money? Like that's her hot
Yes,
button topic. How are
for
you
sure.
spending my money? Like, so when she goes to vote, that is the number one issue for her, is how are you spending my money?
Yep.
Um, me, my number one thing is freedoms. That's my number one thing, because I try
Yes,
to my values and principles are pretty aligned with our founding fathers and the
for sure.
Constitution. So like I go right at that. Those are my hot button things. So
Yep.
we told her, we were like, some people vote purely on the abortion issue. Some people are purely on gun rights issues. I
Yeah,
said, but
I'm a
you have to
one
decide.
topic voter myself. I'm
Yeah. So like
second amendment. That's it.
and see,
Take
that's,
what you
and so
want.
you,
Don't take my guns. Don't touch my guns. Don't tell me
yeah,
what to own. Um,
because that kind of
because
protects everything else when you think about it.
And
Yeah.
it shows like your feeling towards the population. Like if you trust the
Yeah.
population enough to take care of themselves in their neighborhoods, you probably trust them enough to have freedom of speech, and you probably trust
Right.
them enough to make a lot of their own decisions and have more idea of sovereignty. But yeah, I feel like everyone's stance on the Second Amendment, that's like the litmus test. Like if you believe in
Right.
that completely, then you believe in America, and if not, then maybe you want the redcoats to win.
Right. I mean, the decision is yours. But we were really trying to drive home that point of, like, you have to look deep inside and really, at this point in
Yeah.
your life, like we've done as much as we can to help instill values and principles in you, that you have to really, now it's time for you to do the hard work and say, okay, what are my values and principles? What are my, am I, what are there things I'm willing to, sacrifice? Are there things I'm willing to give a little bit on? I said, but if you can honestly look me square in the face and say, these are my values and principles, then you have to stand on those. Then you can't,
Mhm.
because if you can't stand on those, you've got nothing. So
Yeah.
you have to take a hard stand there.
Yeah,
So
and
it was a good conversation.
for sure. I look forward to that with my kids, and I remember being that age because the old saying, you know, if you're not liberal when you're young, you have no heart. And if you're not conservative when you're older, you have no brain.
Right.
And, you know, kind of helping that younger generation develop the brain part of their
Yes.
life. It's so
I
important.
I had this was maybe 3 years ago. I forget I had picked my daughter up from school. I think she was a sophomore in high school at this point. And I still at my job we still get normal paper paychecks, right?
Yep.
So everything is printed out on it. So I just happened to she was talking about finance class at school because our school has they do a full blown, like you have to take so many classes of finance.
Mhm.
You have to take classes on stocks and trades and all this stuff,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
really good for these kids.
For
So
sure.
I showed her my pay stub because I wanted to show her how much money comes out of it. And she looked at it. So she looks at, she of course goes right to the big number and looks at that. And then I'm like, don't pay attention to that. I said, look at this number. And she looks at it and she goes, that's it. And I'm like, well, look at everything look at the side column, look at everything that's taken out. I said, that's what makes you that right there is what will make you not want to be a liberal. Like that's
Absolutely.
like you work hard for your money and that's all you get to keep. Like, come on. And then I drive the point home even more. I'm like, and then kiddo, at the end of the year when it's time to do your taxes, I said, the government then leaves it up to you to see if you've paid them enough yet or not. I said, so it's like, they're slapping you in the face and then they're slapping you on the ass at the end of it. I said, it's just not right.
No. And for the Minuteman people, you know, I probably said this a lot and I don't like saying it because I don't want to make it too out there, but we know what our founding fathers did over just having their tea taxed. And we
Right?
have
2% or whatever it was.
yeah. I think it was 2%, maybe 3%. I know there was a 3% tax, I think, during the Civil War.
Okay.
And then it went away for a little while, and then they brought it back, I think, in the 1870s or something.
Trying to remember, because then it was
And
made permanent. The federal income tax was made permanent in the early 1900s, if I remember right.
I think you're right. I think it was the early
yeah,
1900s,
was
and
when
it was only
made permanent.
3%.
Yeah.
And
So
now,
now when you add it all up, you're like 27%, 30%, 32%. Like,
the Give a Mouse a Cookie book is about the government.
yeah, right. It's crazy. It just it's frustrating. It really, really is.
Mhm. Hey, Chaos Watch Prepare. Go check out on YouTube Felon with Firearms, and he walks people in their state how to get their rights back. So if you don't have like a super violent crime or something, and when I say I'm a Second Amendment absolutist, I mean unless you're behind bars, you should have the right to defend yourself. And if you don't belong out in society, you should be back behind bars. That's how I feel. If as long as
Yeah,
you're back
fair
there,
enough.
you
Cut and
have no
dry.
rights. Yeah. And the courts should be better at who they decide is allowed in society based upon what they've done and whether or not they should be let out.
Yeah,
But if you're out and you're a free person and you can have a child, you should be able to protect your child, your house, your family, your animals, and what you work for. You know, no matter what,
yeah.
you got to go to work. So you want to protect what you had to bust your butt for years and years and years. But check them
That's a
out on
great way of putting it.
absolutely. And in the old days, I don't know when the first regulations started coming in or restrictions. Let's put it that way. They're not
Yeah,
regulations.
restrictions are the best way to put it.
Yes. And yep, he said he's looking into it. Good stuff.
Good.
And yeah, I mean, the whole point of the Second Amendment is just washed under the table, and it's a sad, sad story, but I'm sure most of
It
you
is.
guys know it out there.
Right? All too well.
So I know I was asking you, you're writing another book. We got your
Yes.
book here. Manual 9. So there's a series of 4 of these, right? So far.
So there are 5 total actually now. Here,
Okay.
I have them all. Hold on a second here.
Awesome.
All right. So the first one that came out was the Citizen Manual 1, which was the individual tactical skills. This was kind of like, and this one was written by Jack Morris, which he's the author of most of them. He's the one who's really leading the whole project with the Professional Citizen Project. This is all his. It's all his brainchild. This is all him. But this was the first book, and this was really like a solid overview of kind of hitting upon all facets of this being a prepared citizen, basically. And then you have number 2, which is his reconnaissance manual. Like that's the one that really gets big into like patrolling and area surveys and how to basically anything to do with running operations and missions. And I mean, it goes over squad organization, scouting, working at night, mission planning, movement, recon patrols. Like that goes over all of that. Then the third one was written by Mike Lewis. This one was all on the AR rifle. Basically a beginner's guide to the AR. So like if you're brand new to the AR rifle, like this book is just like, he takes you from cleaning it and zeroing it to reasons why to choose different optics. I mean, the whole gamut of things. Getting into very user specific type rifles in the AR pattern. Then the fourth one that came out was mine. That was, the ACE manual, basically your survival manual, basically. Yep, there you go. And then the one that just came out, Jack Morris wrote with his son. It's the Teenage Prepper. So this one's written for teens.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And this is, so like his son is a teenager, just graduated high school, getting ready to begin college. And he wrote this from his point of view as an 18-year-old young man.
That's amazing.
And this, like, I was impressed with this because not only does it talk about like the concept of being a prepper as a teenager, but it talks about like different survival principles, just everyday things.
Nice. Like
Things like
EDC for teens.
Yes, that, and like, picking, routes of where you, like, if you drive to school or drive to work, you should know 2 or 3 routes to get home from work or to get home from school. Vehicle loadouts, vehicle prep. It's even in here like how to just take care of your vehicle so that you don't get stuck in a situation where you're broken down on the side of the road.
That's awesome.
Things as kids, that communication plans, and then he gets into a little bit with firearms in here. But like, what a great idea for kids, for teenagers.
I was gonna say, when my kids are teens, I want all of them to have one of those and be one of their first books they read. Yeah, that's awesome.
So there's 5 of them total now, and then there's they let the cat out of the bag that I have another one coming out, and then Jack Morris has another one coming out. So you'll probably see 2 more. Those 2 you'll see before fall hits.
Fantastic.
So soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. My goal is to get all of them. I may not need the AR one, but it's probably still a good thing to have with me.
It's once again, it's a book for the library, right? Because who knows when you can't access books online anymore.
For sure.
So it's a fun project to be a part of. I was blessed to be asked to be a part of it, and that they had faith in me, and I'm glad I took the leap of faith.
So they came to you first and were like, "Hey, Jay, we want you to write with your background and your experience, something similar." Did they come up with the idea of having the ACE book since you've been outside?
Yeah, it was kind of their idea on that, and that was where when they approached me, it was really like, "Hey, we think you would be ideal to write this." Like, we see the videos that you put out, we see the the small things that you put out in print, as far as like my monthly newsletter I do in my blog.
Yep.
You know, those things. He's like, he goes, I think you could do it. You know what? You know, think about it. So I did. I thought about it. I thought about it really hard. And I'm like, you know what? I got nothing to lose on it. So why not just go for it? So
Right.
I put in that book.
Did you kind of catch the writing bug as you were
I did,
doing
yes.
it?
Yes.
Nice.
In fact, that was when I started my monthly newsletter. It was born out of practicing writing. Like
Awesome.
it was an outlet for me to practice. And
Fantastic.
I totally I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was awesome. So literally as soon as that first one was done, he was like, "You ready for a second? Like, you know, are you ready to do this again?" And I'm like, give me 6 months, you know, give me a while to recoup my, you know, to not have to worry about it, and then ask me. And he did. He came back and asked me again, and I'm like, yeah, let's roll.
That's awesome.
So
Good stuff.
yeah, it's super cool for sure.
Rudy Finney, appreciate you coming through. Jay over at Prepared Citizens, man, appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys later. Catch the replay. Hit me up. Hit a comment before you guys dip out. I think you might have already dipped, but make sure you guys hit that like button. Leave a comment at the end of the video. So, you know, tell you guys a few things about this book and what I love about it. You got a lot of pictures in here. And you have a breakdown of all kinds of things you need for facing adverse conditions outside in the environment, whether it's clothing, food, medical gear, your mindset, you know, putting all of that together in one package and being able to simplify it for someone so you can go out there. And I'm guessing that all the books kind of have that same lineup, is like they're going to give you so many different ideas and then how to organize it all for an individual, which is
there's definitely a theme. There's definitely a formula to it. It's real big on like the whole walk, or let me start that over. It's all like the whole crawl, walk, run phase, you know, like you gotta crawl first. You can't just go from average Joe to high speed operator dude. You gotta, there's a process, right? Yep. There's a process you have to follow. And in today's world, nobody wants to see the process. Nobody wants to see that. Everyone wants to go right to the cool dude stuff. So I think that's where, you know, like with these things, you know, and people, you know, and people buy gear thinking that it solves problems, not realizing that training solves problems. You gotta know how to use the stuff, but you also have to know the philosophies behind why. And people don't touch upon that a lot of times.
In training, you work a lot of those kinks out. You know what I mean? You realize, man, I don't need this. Man, this is weighing me down. Man, this catches on something every time I have it right here, and all that stuff. And learning from people who've already experienced that is great, but you know, getting your hands dirty, there's nothing that'll ever replace that for the individual.
Absolutely. And people you know, as a society, we've failed people by not letting them fail. So people are afraid to go out and try things because they're afraid of not being good at it. But I tell you what, like, it's the best lessons learned are the ones where you do fail, the ones where you do go on an outdoor trip and you do get lost, or you do get wet feet and blisters, or you do not, or you do not sleep at night because you're cold or hungry, or like, nobody experiences that part of it anymore. The whole you know, the Army has the whole embrace the suck thing. You know, from my background in the climbing and mountaineering community, it was the art of suffering. Like, you learn like there's right ways to suffer and wrong ways to suffer. So
I've had a quote that matches that my whole life. Because as I told a couple times, if you guys haven't heard this story, but You know, you have to write an autobiography every year on some famous person in school, just about every year. And I would always rewrite the same paper every year, which was on Michael Jordan. And
Okay.
he had a quote that was, I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. And
Yes.
it's a quote that I've known for my whole life, and it was always like, you can't really master anything unless you've failed at it so many times and worked
Hmm.
through all the kinks. um so yeah, it's a similar I love and embrace the suck, because that can go in all parts of your life, like.
Absolutely, it can. Like, there's going to be times in your life that just life just sucks, and it
Mhm.
is what it is. But it's just it's a phase or a situation that it may not be your fault, but it's just something you got to deal with, you know.
Yes.
So you do. It is what it is, and you have to learn how to put yourself in a certain mental or emotional state that you can just get through it, and it's
You do.
okay. Like, it really is.
Yeah, there's a lot of times. I mean, I've experienced it many times. But being able to mentally deal with it, embrace the suck, and know that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. The suck will eventually lead to something that benefits you.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of people out there who understand that. I know I have one of the best chats and people that come through these videos. You guys know what time it is, and if anybody needs any encouragement, you guys know you can always reach out over here. My email is always in my stream, in the main description of the channel. And yeah, Jay, I wanted to move over to asking you some wargaming type questions.
All right.
All right. So
Got it.
my first question would be, uh let's say that you wake up one morning, we're out of power, you're been in sleep, you wake up and you're like, there's no power. What's going on? From your mindset, you're probably thinking, is this it? Let me check to see if the neighbors got power. And right. But all we have is an emergency broadcast from now Kamala Harris, probably. And
Yeah.
the emergency broadcast says we've been hit with a cyber attack. All banking is collapsed. Um, your energy grid has been hit by right-wing extremists, and you have this situation, but one of your kids are not home, and you know where they're at, right? Um, let's say you're wondering where they're coming home to. Maybe they left, they didn't have a lot of gas, and you have to go find one of them. What uh where would you start, and how would you pack your load out to go on that mission to find one of them if you had to go?
Oh,
What would you take
geez.
with you?
Well, so I would take my normal bag with me that I keep, like my car bag that I always take with it. Literally, I walk out of the house with it every single morning.
Okay. Would you take anything else extra?
You know what? No, I wouldn't.
Right.
You know what I would do is I would grab one of the spare full gas cans out of the garage, because I'm
Yep.
assuming we're able to drive. Like,
You're able
it's
to
as long
drive,
as you
but you're
have
wondering,
gas.
yeah, you're wondering, why aren't they back yet? How come they don't
Yeah.
know about this? They stayed out overnight somewhere and you haven't heard from them in the morning, and you're like, I have to find them. They said that they were at a friend's house, or that they were staying at a friend's house. And
Right.
I'm guessing your first thing would be, hopefully you know which friend it is and you're gonna head that direction.
Oh yeah, and we would know what friend it is, and we would know ahead of time where they are, because we have all the tracking things on everybody's phones. So
Cool.
you always know where, literally it would be a matter of going to where her last known location is, and then working out from there
Okay.
is what it would really be, what it would come down to. But what I would do first is and we have this agreement with our neighbor next door. He's one of those guys where we always have this thing where we watch each other's backs.
Yep.
He would ride with me. like I would be taking that person with
Smart
me.
move.
So
Very
that
smart.
because there's no way I would be leaving my wife here at home. So in the scenario you said, like my son would be staying at home then with my wife, and I would roll out with my neighbor to go try to find where my daughter is. But I would take my normal bag that I take every single day,
Okay.
and I'd grab a spare gas can in case that was needed. That would be it. I mean, that's what we would do. And then my wife would know where we were heading to.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
you know, she would know that
In
because
your normal bag, do you have like a folding carbine or anything in there?
I don't. I carry right on out to the truck my AR pistol. So, and then I
Okay,
have
so that's
my
in the
concealed
car.
carry. So yeah. Yep.
Okay. Do you keep a chest rig or a bandolier or anything in there as well?
I keep a micro rig in my bag. So,
Very
one of the
smart.
3-cell, micro rigs I keep in there.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And I keep
Let
and like in my vehicle, I keep a spare pair of shoes and a spare pair of pants and a
smart.
raincoat.
Very
Yeah, and then
smart.
there's a clean pair of socks stuffed in a spare pair of shoes too.
The wool socks always.
Yep, wool socks. So it's funny story on that. So I was at a customer's house a few weeks ago, and we happened to be standing next to my truck, and I happened to open the back door of my truck to grab something, and there hanging on the back of my driver's seat is my bag, and on the floor is my shoes with socks stuffed in them, and
Yep.
he looks in there and he goes, I know what you're doing. And I look at him, I go, what do you mean? He goes, that's your get home setup, isn't it? And I kind of laughed. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I'm set up pretty identically in my truck. I'm like, right on, dude. Like he saw it and knew,
Yep. If you know, you know.
That's right.
We're getting to that
Absolutely.
point.
Yep.
All right, so let's say you went to the last known location and they weren't there.
Right.
I'm sure you'd be going to like some regular spots you've experienced in the past, but let's say on your way there, an EMP happens and your car stops right where it is. You have your buddy with you, you guys have gear. Would you leave? Would you just take what you have on your person, your bag? Would you take your AR pistol out of the car with you? You know the
Yes, I would.
situation. Yeah. Good stuff.
100%. My viewpoint on that is if I'm having to go out on foot in a situation like that, I am presenting myself as an incredibly hard target.
Good stuff.
I'm not presenting myself as a gray man, or I'm presenting my posture and my appearance are fully, don't fuck with me.
Good shit. Good shit.
I decided that years ago that was there's no dilly-dallying about on this. This is like it's game face, serious.
Would you conceal it at all, or would you just run it with a sling
No,
open?
run it with a sling open. Yeah.
Okay.
I like the rig is going on, the backpack's going on.
Everything's going on.
I'm a hard target, plain and
Good
simple.
stuff.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
absolutely.
But
We would be going to, so if that were to happen before we get to her last known location, yeah,
Yep.
we're popping on foot the rest of the way to that location then. And then if
Cool.
we get to that location and she's not there, then we're asking anybody who is there. When did they
Yep.
leave? Where did they say they were going? The whole deal, because obviously you can't track her anymore on the phone. So
Yep.
so it's like, okay, she said she was heading back home. Okay, I'm gonna know just because I'm pretty good and pretty big on all my area surveys.
Yep.
Like I'll know, there's a choice of probably 2 or 3 routes she would have driven home, or
Yep.
she would have attempted to. So it's just a matter of, it's a lot of legwork, But okay,
Well,
let's
so now
check the
that
first
there's
one.
an EMP that's hit, right? So your car's
Right.
gone. You made it to the rest of the way there on foot. You got there. She's not there. They said she's headed home. You're obviously going to try to take a different route than what you came, because if she would have been
Right.
headed that way, you would have found
Yep.
her.
Right.
So let's say you guys are huffing it. You make it a mile, 2 miles. You find her. She's good. She's fine. And you guys are like, okay, we got you. Our cars are all left everywhere. We're gonna head back to the house and we'll figure out the rest of
Right.
all these car situations later. On your way back home, you see a group of strange characters dressed in anarchy shirts and their bandanas and masks and all this stuff in a group, right? And they're terrorizing what's around them. What would your next steps be if you saw that? And you know your
So
terrain better than me, so I'll let you kind of.
so it would be one of two things, depending upon where it happened at. And like knowing her small group of friends, I'm trying to imagine which, like, okay, if she was at friend A, B, C, or D's house, regardless, okay, so we're either retreating back to whichever house that was, depending upon how far away we are, or we're literally egressing out into literally off the road into whatever terrain feature there is, whether it's a river valley, hillside, woods, whatever it is. We're
Yep.
beating feet to those areas, basically making it harder on whoever would be wanting to pursue us, because I think at that point we would have, I certainly feel like would have the advantage regardless of.
So let's and I would think you would as well. So let's say though that on your way back, where they're at and the things that they're doing look like they're terrorizing homes and areas. But your daughter says that's my friend's house that they're outside of.
Not my
And
fight.
not your fight, huh?
Not my fight. I have
What
one
if
mission. I
Yep.
have one mission, and that's to
Get
return
you
her
home.
back home. Plain and simple. Like no
Yep.
questions asked. Like there's no hesitation on that. Like nope, it's not our fight.
Yeah.
Not getting wrapped up in that at all.
I got you. I would be the same way. I'd be the
Yeah,
same
like
way.
that's on them. Like that's I have one promise to keep, and that's to get you home. That's it.
Yep. Here's my pocket Bible. Hold it. Say a prayer for him.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like it is what it is, kiddo. Like plain and simple.
Yeah.
And that's
Cool.
and you bring up a good question, because I don't think you have to be able to make that decision like that. You just have to. You can't hesitate on making that decision, but you have to be okay with it mentally, like
Yeah.
and spiritually. You have to be okay with that. Like it just like I got one job, kiddo. That's to get you home. Like I'm sorry about your friend or whatever, but I got one job, and I am going to make that happen. So yeah,
So
you have to be
let's say
okay with
also you don't see any firearms or anything that they're putting out. They have like baseball bats, like nightsticks. They have all kinds of like melee type weapons, right?
Yeah.
Did the guy that you brought with you, he'd probably have a concealed carry at least, but he might not grab his AR
Yeah.
pistol or.
Yeah, he may not. Yeah, in knowing him, he may not grab his rifle, but he always has his pistol. Like he can be outside watering his lawn in his pajamas, and he's packing.
Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
that.
So he would probably grab his gym bag out of the trunk of his car.
Okay.
And he'd have his pistol, and that would be how he wouldn't roll like
So
I would.
if the numbers
he'd
were
be
a
prepared.
certain size, would it make any difference whether or not you'd go try to intervene? Let's say there was only about 8 of them.
No, it
versus
wouldn't make a difference.
You're out.
Yeah, I'm out. Nope. That's
Okay.
yeah. I'm mission and objective driven. That's
Yep.
I'm not.
Scoot said,
I'm
"Don't
not
forget
messing.
the skateboards." I call them the Foot Clan. That's what I call them. So skateboards are
Like
perfect.
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, like the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Oh, dude, that's funny.
yeah. So, all right, you go back to the house. You guys avoid the situation. Your daughter's all distraught because she thinks something happened to her friends, but you guys make it back safe. Um, what would be your next steps, knowing the situation you're in? You don't have to go and like expose any details about anything that you
Yeah.
have, but what would be your firm next steps in your ready room, or how would you feel coming back to that house? You're happy you got everybody back together, but you
So
know cars are down, grid is down, and banks are down. So I mean, you can't travel anyway, so there's no real access to that. But you got what you
right.
got, and you have no grid at this point.
Yeah. So I mean, we're set up where we can hold out for a fairly long time. So
Uh-huh.
that's not an issue. The goal would be dependent upon how long term, if this continues on where, you know, generally it's like dependent upon the situation, like a 7-day rule of, okay, if there's dependent upon if it's XYZ situation here, obviously you're no power, no
And now
no
you
elect
you know there's people out there doing bad stuff because
yeah,
you guys
right.
have seen them firsthand.
Right.
So
So
you
the like
factor that all in.
the plan B is to drop back to be able to get to where our I call it the farm. And that's what it
Yep.
um, is to fall back to that, and that's within. You could hoof that in half a day on foot if you had to.
Cool.
You could. Um, it's the first couple of miles that you have to get through first.
Yep.
And that's so thankfully we're on a side of town where I know it's always been the running joke where it's like we're just across the river from the bad side of town.
Yep.
Like, literally just across the river. I know in my apocalyptic dreams you picture blowing the bridges like in Batman that's connecting the island, like if it were Jay's world, we'd all those bridges would be blown, so because rats don't swim, so they're not going to come across the river. They're going
For
to be stuck
sure.
on their side, and we're on our side, and we can have a fairly you know uneventful journey, but that's not a reality. But the first few miles are iffy, but after that then
Cool.
it's just straight up country farm roads to get to where we would need to be. So it
Cool.
wouldn't be all that bad, but it would be a move we'd want to make sooner rather than later. Like you wouldn't want to
Yes.
wait it out too long to be able to do that, but that's
Would you
the
want to
mutually
go
agreed
in the
upon plan.
daytime or at night if you had your
Night,
choice? Night.
nighttime. Yeah,
Um, would you move with just the immediate family, or like would you bring the neighbor and you'd have that
just
conversation?
nope, just immediate family. That's it.
Gotcha.
And you know what? And this sounds horrible. Like this sounds bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is what it is. I know my neighbor would help with providing cover to get to a certain point,
Yep.
but then that's it. Like I don't want to say you've had your usefulness, but
Yeah.
I'm out. Like I have to continue the rest of the plan. Like, thank you very much. But and that, like I said, it sounds horrible. But
Yep.
I think once again, you have to be okay with it in your head. It
Yeah.
just
There's tough
it is.
decisions you have to
Yeah,
make.
there's tough decisions to make, and the more at peace you can be with those decisions, because you can't dilly dally about it. You can't waffle on it. You have to just be able to make that hard, fast decision and just, it's okay. This is the way it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Maccabeus asked, "Do you have night vision, and would you use it in this night move that you're going to be doing?"
In this scenario, yeah, absolutely. And I have cheap night vision, but
Yep.
you're not, I'm not, we're not concerned with with a higher, with a higher level force or anything like that. Like
Correct.
you're going to move under darkness and use them as you need to use them and move on.
Yep.
Yeah, use it to your advantage. I mean, that's You know, you'd be silly if you didn't
would
use it to
you
your
and your
advantage.
son fully load out at least a chest rig, or I'm not sure
Yeah.
how far would you go plate carrier since you've seen people out there? Would you go
In that
just
scenario, to get out of town, yeah,
yep,
absolutely. Just because the threat assessment would be a lot higher at that
yep,
point. And people, because they're scared, people are going to be much more trigger happy than what they normally would be. You know what I
definitely.
mean? So like you can't take chances with that. You have to be able to go, you have to be prepared to go full bore and be
You
ready.
do. You do. Well, good stuff, man. I like just asking questions, make people think, and
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and we
yeah,
all we all game plan stuff in our heads nonstop, and
we do.
that's one of the things I like doing with the property patrols. It's always you're always thinking of different scenarios, different what ifs, and you go out and you
For
try
sure.
it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But and then you learn something from it. Like, why did that
Yep.
not work? Like um I talked about it in one of my videos maybe 2 months ago, where I was coming up on the fence line, and out of nowhere this freaking dog came running barking at me, and then I could hear voices in the distance, and I'm like, you know what, I did not take that slow enough. I was
Yep.
too comfortable and didn't fully pay attention,
Yeah,
and
because you'd have heard them,
that's
and
on me.
it's
Yeah.
another great reason to have a suppressor.
Yeah, right.
I didn't see any dog.
Like, what dog you talking about? I don't know anything. I didn't see nothing. I didn't hear nothing. I don't know.
Nah, he didn't come this way.
Nope. I think I heard something way over there though.
And an e-tool, suppressor and an e-tool
Yeah, right.
take care of a lot of things.
Another purpose for an e-tool, not just for digging cat holes.
No, you may have to dig a little bit, but that's
Oh,
funny.
that's funny. No, that was a great scenario to throw out there. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot about if I had to move on foot with everybody I have. I don't know. Mine are young enough that they wouldn't be anywhere, and it would always be like me getting back home, um, me waiting on somebody that I'm in a group with to come to the rally point, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I just like to play with those kind of scenarios because it's better to think it before you do anything,
Yep.
because in a stressful situation you don't think as clearly as you do when you're just thought
Right.
provoking in your downtime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny that you made me think of something. The thing with like your kids, and so we've had this talk with our kids, and our daughter, she's been good about this. Where if you're going to be given certain freedoms, as far as driving to a friend's house and going places, like we've stressed from the get go communication. Like
Yeah.
if you guys are going to go somewhere, just call or text us and say, hey mom, hey dad, we're going to run, me and so we're going to run up to Cane's to get some chicken, and then we're going to go back to so and so's house. All right,
Yep.
great, thanks honey. Text me when you get there, text me when you
Yep.
get to Cane's, and then text me when you get to so and so's house. Like, just let us know. Just
And I'm sure they like my mom was always like that, but there's just times where you get caught up and you forget to send the text, and
mm-hmm.
then the calls come, and
Yeah. And
um
there's been times she's forgotten, and she's like, oh, I wasn't thinking, or we changed our minds, or we ran into so and so. And it's like, it's okay.
do
Just
you
the
do you
next
keep
time.
any other form of communications in their cars or tracker or anything else besides the cell phone?
So we did for a while, but then we
Mhm.
just quit doing it. We were doing radios, and that
Mhm.
was great, but then we just quit doing it. I can't even tell you why we quit doing it. We just quit doing it.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
when you do it for a long time and you never use it or something, people get like
yeah,
that
it's one of
complacency.
those things. And then also, like our and it changes a little bit this year because of my daughter going to college. But the way, like, between my work, my wife's work, and our kids' school, we're all only at any given time about 2 to 3 miles apart from each other. Like, so
Yeah.
we're all really close every single day. And then so like the kids know, like if something were to happen at school, like you beat feet the mom. Like
Yep.
that's the rule. Like
Have
you
you
beat
ever
feet
thought
the mom.
about setting up a mesh network, because they're so small and it's like that pager, and you
I
don't
have not.
need. I think
It's a good
that
idea.
especially if you're only 3 miles away,
Yeah, because
you know,
we're that
even 5.
close.
Yeah, a mesh network, because it's not like you have to carry a big radio, you know, you have
No,
this
it's just
little
those
tiny.
little. I'm gonna look
Yeah.
into that because I've seen those pop up,
Yes.
and I bet
I
I could.
just got 2 of them, and I've been messing with, like, having my wife has one and I have one, and
Yeah,
I got a couple
I'm gonna look into
buddies.
that.
Yeah, I
I
got
like
some
that. I do
buddies who
like
are
that
3D
idea.
printing cases and stuff. So if you get into it and you need something
Okay,
printed, let me know.
all right, I'll do that.
Um, and we'll talk about it offline, and I'll send you some
Yeah, no,
stuff
of
on them.
course. Well, in the chat, yeah, for sure.
But for that range, I don't know if there's anything better than a mesh, because it's encrypted. You don't
Right?
need cell service. You know,
No.
if towers are down or whatever's down, you're sending direct message. I'm headed here. I'll be back this far. I'm traveling this way, and it's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's good. It's almost like the old. It sounds like it's almost like the old Nextel. Phone. Remember the
It
Nextel
is.
phones?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's what I
chirp.
remember when those came out. Yeah, because I had a Nextel phone, like the very first ones that came out, had the little
Yep.
flip phone thing on it with the pull out antenna.
Even before that, did you ever have a pager?
No, I never had a pager. All my friends had
Okay.
pagers. I never had a pager. I
I
wasn't
didn't
cool
have
enough.
one. I was a little young, but my older brother in 9th grade had a pager, and I was probably, geez, he's 5 years older than me. So if he was I was 5th grade, probably
Okay.
4th grade. And so I remember him talking about all the codes. So it's more like a pager where you can only
Yeah.
send text messages. But it's like that perfect size of a pager, you know, where it's just
I
not
really like
convenient
that
at all.
idea because I've
It's
seen
really
those
cool.
pop up out there, but I just haven't really looked into it. But I like that.
Yes. If you
It's a good
guys
idea.
know what I'm talking about in the chat, it's called Meshtastic. I've showed it on a few lives. You can get the hardware off Amazon. You can get 3D printed cases. It takes a rechargeable battery. It charges with USB-C,
USB-C.
the bigger port.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to break as easy. Everyone kind of has access to it. But I feel like the more people that have Meshtastic, the better. It's kind of like having a Signal chat like what
Yeah.
we have, but just off everything else. Not
Right.
dependent on cell towers. And the more that you have, you can daisy chain them. So you could have a network that's 50 miles long if you had
I like
somebody
that.
every 5-6 miles.
I like that.
Mhm.
I
It's
think
good
you
stuff.
just piqued my interest enough to
Hey.
make that happen.
I'm honored I could spark an idea for the
Because
modern
you know
Minuteman,
how,
'cause
yeah, like we were talking earlier, like I can only focus on one or two things at a time. That
Yep.
might just become one of my one or two things over the next month. The
Yeah.
focus.
I do the same thing. I probably pick 1 or 2 things a month, and I'm like, all right, wet weather gear. And then I'll just like, all right, I'm gonna get this, and then when next check
Yeah.
I'll get this, and then this one I'll get this. And with taking care of a family, my wife's a stay-at-home mom with all the freaking kids I got. We couldn't afford for someone else to watch them. But we're on a tight budget, so it's always like a little bit here. And I'm glad, praise God, that I've been able to see this coming for so long, that I've been doing it for
Yeah.
such a long time. But it's always little by little by little by little.
Right.
And
No,
mesh was one of those things.
We just had here, it was last week, so the power went out at our local pumping station for the water, for our water.
Wow.
So they sent out the text alerts, that the pumping station was down, to use, like, basically don't use water for any non-essential things. Like, you could still use it for drinking and bathing, but no washing clothes, no washing cars, stuff like that. Well, then about 3 hours later, it comes out that we're under a full boil alert now.
Wow.
So not just is there no water pumping, but the water that there is that's coming out is you have to boil it. Well, this went on for we went, it was 3 days. that this went on for. So my wife, like that first day, we were sitting outside on our patio, and she's like, Jay, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, and she knows that she knows that we have everything taken care of, but like my first train of thought is, oh, we have this in place, we're good. Her first thought is, oh no, what are we gonna do? So because I'm more mentally invested in it than what she is. And
my
so
wife, we do the same thing. She's like, it's your time to shine is her
right,
thing now. That's what
so like, so
gotcha.
I brought up some of the big water jugs and transferred a couple cases of water from the basement to upstairs and all this stuff. And then so I looked at her and I'm like, hey, all right, I brought up so much to be able to brush teeth with and wash dishes and drinking water and for coffee and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, we're good. I said, we don't have anything to worry about. So I looked at her and I go, but we're out of beer. I said, so I'm going up to the store and getting beer.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but to have that preparedness already, like I wasn't worried about it. Like, I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
I'm the same. Like, I've been in my area, we get hurricanes, and I'm just like, hurricanes don't bother me at all. I know my house is going to withstand it. It's brick.
Right.
And I'm like, if I'm the only dude on the block with electricity, I guess they better have cash if they want to get something charged.
That's great.
Become the charging station. It's like, yo, that one's going to be $25.
Yep. $25 for 30 minutes. 30 minutes on the charger.
I'm very Republican until I have to charge you to.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
We're just playing. I'd probably hook you up. You get one free charge for complimentary purposes, and then after
right,
that,
just because I'm a nice guy right now. That's right. I do.
Can
have
I run
an
extension cord? Absolutely not.
Yes.
Where you start plugging in stuff and blow them on everything I got.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I mean that's the lifestyle, and like I said, my goal is get land. I'm on a 1/4 acre, and still I've had 15 chickens now for 4 years. I'm down to 10, so I've done a good job keeping them alive. I've lost a few.
Yeah.
But fruit trees, and I'm a big proponent of this for everybody. People love guerrilla gardens. It's like one of the new things a lot of people are talking about, which I'm a big fan of.
Mm-hmm.
I love my Ruger S-Far Rip Curl. You've seen it. But what I think is even easier than dealing with gardening is having mass amounts of fruit trees and bushes that bear things that you can eat off of. Because you don't have to maintain them as much. They're not going to get stepped on, or animals aren't going to eat those as much. They will every now and then. A squirrel may climb up there or something but you're not going to lose everything all at once. And I think I'm at 10 fruit bearing trees on my 1/4 acre.
Awesome.
Yep. 10 fruit bearing trees and 10 chickens, which I want to do a whole nother batch and load up like another 10 and get right back to overproducing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, the worst is you give them away to people who appreciate it, and my parents, and I work in sales, so I can always bring them places and say, hey, look, got you these.
Right.
But yeah, fruit trees to me are one of the best, whatever region you're in, because not everything where I'm at is very tropical. So all the citruses and stuff that grows in the islands, mangoes, papayas, that stuff grows like, you have to do nothing.
Yeah. We do good up here with apples and pears. Apples, pears.
Nice.
Those are the two best. Plums are hit and miss.
Yeah.
Peaches do okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they're hit and miss. Like if you have a bad weather year, they just ends up being a horrible crop. We're in the corn belt though, so like I mean corn.
Yeah.
I mean there's corn everywhere you look right now. Corn and beans, they're just everywhere right now. But apples,
make sure you know how to if you have to take some of it. Well, yeah, if you got to take some wheat, how to turn that wheat into
Yep.
something edible, because
It's
that's a
a
little
good
bit of a
skill to have.
process.
Yeah. And that's stuff that, I mean, I know there's channels who specifically focus on that kind of stuff, but
Yeah,
for, even guys in our genre, like those are skills to have and skills to practice, know how to do those things.
for
It's
sure,
important.
for sure. I'm gonna get back into doing more prepping videos and stuff like that. Um, I love my firearm stuff and I love doing our lives. I've been getting a great response from all my lives. Um, but somebody did say in the chat, like deer and squirrels, right? But if we're in this situation and you have fruit trees and they're eating off a tree, it's a perfect opportunity to get yourself some meat,
Yeah. Yep.
you know?
Hey, squirrel,
Now,
I tell you what, like I've seen a resurgence in our area with squirrel hunting. Like it's
really?
become a thing again. Yeah.
Well,
Like I
with the
mean, it
price
was a
of
thing.
ammo, I'm guessing the 22 has
Well,
become
I mean,
one of
so like
choice.
I mean, we'll take 22s out in the field and shoot them, and
Smart.
especially when we're out at camp.
Yep.
And our, I mean, and we, we stay within the laws. I mean, our squirrel season is pretty long here, so you have close to half the year of it being open. Um, but it's a good, especially with kids. I mean, what a great way to introduce them to hunting and to introduce them to, how to process it in the field and how to cook it, and like it's all good stuff. Those are important things to learn. I know I take my son out and
You
he's not
should,
always
yeah.
excited about it, but I'm always like, you know what, dude? I'm like, this is just like, this is a skill that whether
Yeah.
you want to learn it or not, or you want to live that lifestyle, it's a skill you are going to know, and you're going to be
One
proficient at
one thing I would, and I haven't been a father for decades or anything, but this is something with my upbringing. Um, when you become that older gentleman that your kids want to listen to and even your grandkids, becoming a good storyteller is a valuable skill.
for sure.
The
I agree
more
with
you
that.
can captivate them with life experiences through stories and lessons through stories, um, that's stuff that they will never forget it. It's so weird because you can have a million normal conversations, but there's stories that my grandpa would tell me that weren't even real. They were about our dog in the house, and he would say, "Oh, it's her name was Casey." He would say, "Casey the Wonder Dog," and he would tell us these stories about her, and it was stuff that I just never forgot. But it's funny because you could talk about all kinds of little stuff, and you may forget it, but when someone just puts it in a good story, you remember it for way longer.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, yes, for sure. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. I
Yeah,
enjoy because most of my years of mountain climbing and rock climbing and ice climbing and doing all these things, it was before cell phones were around, before they were a normal thing, at least. And so you don't, when everybody has pictures and videos galore today, I just I
yeah,
was still all film, where you would shoot 4 or 5 rolls of film on a trip and maybe you'd be lucky to get a dozen good pictures out of it. So I have stacks of photo albums loaded with all these photos, and I'll
nice.
still sit down with the kids and we'll like open them up and like tell stories and be like, oh, that was my buddy John, and we had this funny thing in this town this one night, and we did this, and all that kind of stuff. This is like, to be able
Yep,
to share stuff I think is super cool, especially with
for
the old
sure.
photo albums. That's
Oh yeah.
it's another layer to the story.
I was gonna say, yeah, once you add context, it becomes more
Yeah.
than just, oh, these are these people from then that I don't know anything about.
Yep. Absolutely.
Being a good and then you think if we were in a world with no TVs and our entertainment, you know, storytelling is going to be a massive form of entertainment at that point.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Is there anything that you're working on besides the new book? Is there anything prepping wise that you're like filling in the gaps on at this point? Because we might be in the fourth quarter, heading into
You know,
overtime actually soon.
I'm back into a bit of a stored food focus.
Smart. Me too.
Yeah, I'm kind of back into that. Um, that's kind of
You can never have too much.
No, you can't. And so I'm kind of in that little bit of a kick right now. And I'm in a bit of a networking kick right now. As far as
Smart.
just meeting more people and
Yep.
just getting out with people and not just meeting people like, like you
For
and me meeting
purposes.
online. Yeah, but for purposes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
for mutual purposes. Like,
Yes.
I mean, there's one guy in particular as of lately, like we've like already we're both on the same wavelength about it, and it's
That's
and
the
it's a good
best.
thing. Like, and it's one of those things where you can tell it's going to blossom, and
Mm-hmm.
become a long-term thing. And it just, it was one of those things. It's just taking a leap of faith to say, hey,
Yep.
why don't we do this? Let's go do this together. And then before you know
Yeah.
it, you hit it off and you find out you have all these things in common. And before you know it, it's become something. It's all good. So like the networking thing has been a renewed focus. And like I
Yep.
said, the whole food storage thing, just a fresh focus on that too. That's
Clinton Fields brings up a good point here. Have you guys ever got into food canning? Your own food?
no, we have not. No, we have not. Know how to do it, have
Mm-hmm.
done it, but now just not something that we're into, which and
Yeah.
you know what? We should be,
Yeah, we
but we're
should be
not.
too. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a canner and we've done it, but restocking canning supplies and buying that and then thinking, all
Yeah.
right, so what are we gonna can? But it sounds like me and my wife, we did have fun doing it together. But it sounds like
Oh,
something
yeah.
that with the family would be fun to do as well.
It's something that the family can do together. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Bromance from Modern
Romance.
Frontiersman.
From surprised there's not a rainbow flag next to that from him.
Modern knows the bromance.
Oh my goodness! I tell you what, I'm doing a trip next month with a group of guys, and oh my goodness, I don't know, like the gay jokes are just off the charts right now in our chat, getting ready for it and the planning of it, and it's good. It's going to be absolutely epic. Um, but oh my goodness, like at first you're like, I don't know if I'm going to necessarily fit in with them. I don't know because I haven't met any of them really, and
Well,
but like
Randall
once
and Josh, they love running running the gay
oh yeah,
joke.
absolutely. And a couple of these guys are guys who are in with Randall, so it's
Cool.
but as soon once we got chatting, I'm like, oh dude, I'm so hitting it off with you guys. Like this is gonna be just fine. Like
Yeah.
this will be like the Brokeback Mountain jokes are just it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. So there will be some cool videos coming out of that. That's part of the whole networking thing. This renewed
Yes.
focus of, I mean, I get asked from time to time about partaking in things and traveling to go do something, and I'm finally gonna. Uh, I'm no one's coming to see me. I'm gonna go see them. So it'll be
Nice.
cool. Yeah,
I'm gonna
for
get
sure.
there. Like I said, with leaving in all the stuff I got going on behind is a rough one. But
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I'm lucky that like my wife's a school teacher, so she's off during the summers.
yep.
So this just happens to coincide like the school year's just getting ready to start kicking off when this
Uh-huh.
is going on. So I said something to her about it, and she's like, she's like, I'm not even going to be home most of the time during, like she's like, just
Yep.
go, like go and have fun.
See,
I'm like,
me being the youngest, like I said, I was the youngest of three boys. And my father, we had an Italian restaurant growing up. So
okay,
my daycare was rolling garlic knots and peeling shrimp. And like I was full on working by 7 years old, like full shifts.
that's
Was like, hey,
awesome.
we both have to work and you're not gonna just sit in a corner. You're gonna go scrub pots, you're gonna put the pots back when they're clean. You're
Yep.
gonna go roll the garlic knots. You're gonna refill the butter sauce. You're gonna do all this stuff, right? And so, like my boys, they're in for it. Like I was always dragged along and either told you stay there and wait and watch and learn, or here you have a job. Those were like
Yes.
my whole life was that kind of thing. So
That's great.
I'm excited to take them wherever I go as they get older and old enough
Oh
to
yeah, for
do
sure.
all that stuff.
Absolutely. And you know, it would be a crime if you didn't do that.
That's how I feel.
Like
Yeah.
that, like it's like it's truly a rite of passage. Truly a rite of
Yep.
passage.
And I loved it. I loved every second of that kind of stuff. Like they'd be off doing their own things as they got older, and my grandfather would come to do something at the house. He was like the handiest guy ever. He was a welder and did underground welding and all this kinds of stuff. So like whenever we really had to have something done at the house, my dad wasn't a super handy guy. He was overworked with the restaurant. So my grandfather
Yeah.
would come do it and I was always by his side, and hence my garage looks a little crazy, but like there's not a project that I can't really figure out or do already on my own.
Yeah.
Besides electrical, I'm not a big guy on doing electrical stuff.
Hmm.
But other than that, I love getting my hands dirty and figuring out, making it
Yeah.
happen.
I do
Um,
too. I'm a firm believer in, like, especially as being men, like
yeah,
we should be capable of doing all of that stuff. Even if you only do it once, at least
for sure.
have the working knowledge of it and have
Yep.
the appreciation for the guy who does it for a living.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, not only do I appreciate him, but I'm always like, I'm the guy, if I have to call someone in, I'm like, all right, hold on. I'm gonna sit here because I'm paying you to do this. I'm also gonna learn.
Yes,
Like
I'm
I'm
the same exact way.
gonna
Like I absolutely, like, I just teach me by just letting me watch you. And if I
yes.
have a question and I'd say, hey, well, how did that, like, oh, like that's how it worked. Like I
Yep.
was trying to do
I mean,
this, but
God
no, this
forbid
is how
you
it's
do
done.
all this and then a week later you get hit by a train, God forbid. Who
Right?
am I gonna call next? I need to have an idea of an emergency situation on what to do here.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. For sure. I agree. Absolutely.
Cool. So what kind of food storage are you focusing more on, like freeze dried, canned goods? I always talk about like the three, which is like freeze dried food, canned food, and like freezer and your regular food. Then you also have like food production. I don't know if you're getting into any like eggs or um milk goats and stuff like that. Like
We
milk
don't have
goats is
anything
one of the
like that.
next things. Okay.
We have just our regular garden that we do.
Okay.
Um, we have that as far as food production goes, but this is more like long-term storage food, like
Yes.
already prepackaged stuff. That's what
Freeze
I'm
dried stuff.
that that I feel like I just don't have enough of. So
Yeah.
like we have lots of, like, canned goods and that kind of stuff, but when it comes to like the long-term storage things, I always feel like I'm shorts, as far as for what my goals are. So, I mean, and that's just normal.
This guy's picture and the name of his channel is hilarious.
Shaquille
Shaquille
Oatmeal. Oh, that's
Oatmeal.
hilarious. And
And look, he's got it's Shaq
looks
with the
like
Quaker.
oh geez, but it looks like buckwheat dressed as the Quaker guy.
It does it. That's Shaquille
It does.
Oatmeal.
Shaquille,
That's awesome. Shaquille Oatmeal. Good
Shaquille
to see
Oatmeal.
you.
Oh,
I will
that's
not
great.
miss you.
I won't forget that one. That's funny. I love it.
I
I
might
don't
have
mess
missed
with
it,
his
but
electrical
is
paper.
Modern Frontiersman? Yes, he is. Little Patriot. He is an 0311 Marine Infantry. Um, and Marines are never former. The Marines for life.
Right. What was that
Goon
one? There was
Bean.
just a question.
Which
Somebody
one?
just had a question up there, I thought.
Let's see.
Oh, they were asking if no, so no, I'm not. I never was in the military. No, someone asked a question if I was ever in the military. No.
Oh, Modern Minuteman. Okay. I read Modern and I thought Modern Frontiersman. But
Oh,
no,
there it is.
yes.
Yeah, may have missed it, but is the modern Minuteman former military? No. I grew up an Army
Yeah.
kid. My dad was a career Army officer, so I grew up surrounded by it, but never. It's funny because my junior year in high school, I tried to go the academy route. I applied to Annapolis and was one of the two final choices for my congressman at the time. and a friend of mine beat me out for the appointment because he was an Eagle Scout and I was not an Eagle Scout. Like that's how close we were.
Nice. And now looking back, I wish I would have done some form of scouts because I just love the outdoors and that's kind of my stick. But like I said, I was way too conspiratorial, way too young. And post 9/11, if there wasn't a 9/11, I could have seen it being a big option. But the moment 9/11 hit, I went full conspiratorial and
Right.
like was just like Rage Against the Machine. Like that was like the young Rage Against the Machine guy, which
Yeah.
does lead you down a liberal path. I was never like really
Yeah,
liberal, but it
true.
was always like, at the time it was Republicans in office with Bush and
Mm-hmm.
that whole like the left is like the odd one out. Usually the one that's not in office when you're young is the cool
Right.
one,
Right. Absolutely. Because
You
you
like the
feel like you're
underdog.
you
Yeah.
feel like you're part of the resistance.
Yes.
You're not in the in crowd. The
Yeah.
big man's keeping you down. That whole thing.
Totally, totally. So maybe it
And
was
now
a great thing for your daughter that Biden got 3 years and now she gets to vote. She can see firsthand. Like
right, absolutely. Now my son who is 15 and a half, he's a full blown like he loves Trump. He just
Nice.
even today. So like my wife and daughter are out of town, so it's just me and my son here at home. So I go to work during the day, and he was here home alone. And so I get home, and what 15-year-old kid is watching, Benjamin Netanyahu give his speech in Congress? My son is watching it on
Nice.
TV. So I come home and he's like, Dad, did you watch it? Did you hear what he said about this, this, and this? And I'm like, dude, to be honest, I didn't. He's like, oh, Dad, you wouldn't believe it. And he goes, and none of the Democrats were there, and Kamala wasn't there. He's like, what a slap in the face. And I'm just like, dude, you're cracking me up.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. I
Like
mean,
he's tuned in and he's developing
yes.
his own opinions on things, and oh, it's funny.
I could not stand George Bush either. I really couldn't.
Yeah,
Um
most people, yeah, I
he
know.
was
That's
similar to Biden except not old. He talked that stupid. The you fooled me once, shame on you. You fooled me twice.
right.
You can't fool me twice. Like you were like, is this guy really the president? He talks like he's like just out of middle school or something.
That's funny. Oh man.
But Trump, I've always been weary because to me, anyone in these positions you got to be weary of
You
because
do,
of the
yeah.
power they hold. But Trump has not felt anything like anybody else ever.
No, never, no, not at all. And really, I mean, and I think we all agree that none of us like everything to do with him.
For sure.
We hate the fact that those are our choices. Like really, that sucks that these are our choices. But man,
Yeah.
he does. I do like his boldness. I do. I like the businessman aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
You hear the stories, whether they're true or not. I mean, he seems
Yep.
like he's a very caring guy. He can definitely be goofy
For sure.
as hell. Like
I
he is
think
a
no matter
he's a
no matter
goofy dude.
how he is goofy, but no matter how old I am, I think one of the most entertaining things I've ever seen in my entire life was all his debates from the 2016 election.
Oh my
Just
goodness, yes.
demolishing people.
Oh, you see it every now and then. David Chappelle, you'll see the David Chappelle footage of him talking about Trump, and he's
Yeah.
he'll be like, he goes, that Trump's real, and the interaction with Hillary where he goes, talking about the taxes, and like, and you know what he goes, because all your friends take advantage of the same tax breaks that I take advantage of, and
Yep.
like he's quick on things, and he's not
For
afraid to
sure.
say it. It was really too bad in that first term of his. It's really too bad that the majority of Republicans turned their back on him.
Oh
Like
yeah.
just imagine the stuff that could have gotten done from his platform if everyone would have just supported him. Like, oh my goodness, it would have been huge.
It makes sense though that they wouldn't like him being an outsider, not growing up, not spending a life in politics, and making finances outside of having to be a corrupt thief working in the shadows. And I could see that being, and it's still to this day, it seems that way. Like Trump is not dependent on politics for his quality of life. He would live a high quality life no matter what.
Yep, absolutely.
Shaquille Oatmeal, when he does give that speech about the little woman and the snake, and little woman, you knew I was a snake before you brought me in.
Oh yeah.
He's told it many times, and it does creep me out when he tells it. It does. I'm like, are you the snake? Because this is creeping me out here.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, Shaquille, I'm weary of everybody, but at this point, there's no one else to put any form of hope in the government. If Trump is the snake, we're screwed. But if he's not the snake and it's left to everyone else, we're screwed anyway. So
right, absolutely.
Embrace the suck.
Perfect.
So I think Josh he's about to hop in here in a minute. There he is. Speaking of it, there he is within seconds. I'm like, Josh said it all 30 minutes. What's going on, sweetie pie?
What's up, you beautiful man?
Thank you.
Oh, is this
he's talking to you, Jay.
Oh, I didn't hear him.
Oh,
I just said y'all are beautiful.
Now the lips are moving, but I don't see.
Oh, really?
Can't hear him. Yeah. Can you hear him?
I hear him.
Oh, I'm not hearing him. I don't know what's up with that.
That's weird.
Josh, sing the national anthem.
Nah, bro. I'll be.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
I heard him fine.
Huh.
Weird.
Weird.
So yeah, I mean, this is our first time really getting to chat long term and face to face and everything. You got any questions for me?
How did you start doing the lives? Like, what made you decide that you wanted to like that be one of your things for the YouTube?
So I started in prepping way before I started in the gun sphere. Like I said, I would always on YouTube first started with I used to watch like debates a lot. I love debating and the science behind debates, and that was one of the big things I used to watch. But I also am around a lot of preppers. Like in my chat, you will see people who are more in the prepping side of YouTube, probably than gun people. And that's where I started. I was in their chats. I was interacting, asking questions. Like I had bought a house about 6 years ago, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do my chicken coop. And I'd be on preppers lives like, hey, who's got chickens and what dimensions do I need my coop? And like, I learned so much from being on people's live streams because of the live chat. Like the people in the chat are just so valuable. Because some of these people, whether you guys are new to this chat or you're one of the veterans who I've been interacting with for years, you can ask people anything. The prepping community is so supportive and shares information, and that's really what got me into doing lives like Backwoods and Prepping, Hutch Homestead, Native Voices channel, Ghost Prepper. There was like a group of guys that we would all, and like even to this day, if you go to like Prepper Nation's live chat, I mean, his live chat is massive. He's one of the bigger channels, but like everyone in the chat has been chatting with each other for years about new products, new things. So I just felt after so much time in being and gaining information that combining all the things I had learned from the gun world and tactical world and training and combining that with traditional prepping, that I was like, not only do I want to do lives, but I want to interview different people every time I do a live. last Friday, I don't know if you watched my live from last Friday.
I did
But those
not
are some
know.
of the guys you should rewatch it because the whole live
Okay.
is like wargaming stuff like I did with that question with you.
Yeah.
And there's a guy on there called Prepping Outside the Box. He's a former military guy, but he used to do every Wednesday was War Game Wednesday. And
Okay.
he would have different panels on and do different scenarios. And he's got like he just has a fun time making these lists of all these different scenarios. And since he stopped doing his War Game Wednesdays, and a lot of these guys who are in that sphere, they stopped spending as much time streaming. I think maybe they just got burnt out and they had been doing it for so long that they just maybe didn't feel like doing it for years and years and years. So I kind of picked up the mantle of that and give a big homage to them and
That's
just
cool.
kind of carrying that on for other people that may come in and want to ask questions and learn all kinds of things about how to just take care of themselves. And like on YouTube, you can learn a lot from a video, but when you're in chat for 2 hours with people, you can just have at it with different people. And like if you leave a comment on a video, they may answer that one comment. But it's like in here, you have the time over 2 hours to ask people 10 questions to 27 people are in the chat right now. So
Right.
you got 26 other people you can ask their opinion on what they think about XYZ, you know, and I just really like that. So
Cool. Very cool.
yeah.
Jay, how are you doing, my friend?
We got Wired Tight and
Yep.
Josh, the Modern Frontiersman.
I think he can't hear you either.
No, can you hear me?
Let me.
I say I can't hear anybody else.
Nope, just me.
Yeah, just you.
Huh. All right, I muted them, and let's unmute them, and let's see if that does anything.
Jay, what's up?
Nope.
Nothing.
That's weird.
Yeah, you guys all hear everyone else too?
Yeah.
Weird.
Are you on a desktop or cell phone?
I'm on a cell phone. So that might be why.
I'm on a cell phone too right now.
Huh.
I don't know.
Do you have a headphone in right there?
I do, yeah.
Do you have two or is it just one?
I have two.
You have one in each one and you
Yeah.
can't hear anything?
Nope.
All right. Well, you guys are deaf
I'm
to
the
the
odd
man.
man out now. Jeez, oh man. All I'm seeing is this, and I don't know.
Well, maybe I can just like translate every single thing.
I don't know.
Tell Jay that I said it's good to see him.
I
and
saw
I've-
Josh's universal language there, so I saw that. I don't know.
Tell Jay that I've been meaning to reach
Oh, no,
out to
but
him.
we got two Joshes, so now
'Cause-
this one, yeah. So
I hear
now
you
it's even
both
more
ways.
confusing.
I want to get him back on my show soon because he was actually the very first live stream that I did when I started.
Really? All right. So Josh over at Wired Tight said you were his very first live stream he ever did, and he's been meaning to get you back on. And how you
I
popped
was the
his
very
cherry
first, wasn't I?
on live
I
stream.
popped this cherry.
Yeah.
He said it's still bleeding, by the way.
Oh, I
Jay.
have
Great.
washed off
I
since
can
then,
say
so-
you guys said all kinds of stuff to him, and you don't know whether he said it or not. It's fantastic.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
So, do you guys have any questions for Jay while I'm translating stuff?
Yeah, I want to know how his wife feels about his hobbies.
He asked, "How does your spouse feel about all your hobbies?"
She thinks I'm crazy. But you know
Does
what? At the end of the day, she's like, "Hey, if that's your thing, like, just all right." Like,
Did 2020 not like change any of that for her?
So I think her eyes got opened years before that.
Okay.
So she's never been vocal about it, but she's always been like, just basically just keep me in the loop as to what you got going on. You know, like that's the big thing. Just keep me
Basically,
in the loop.
like, don't spend all our investment money on this.
Right.
house.
Exactly. Like, just make sure you just let me know what's going on. So that's communication. That's all
She
that
doesn't
it
want to
is.
wake up and be like, honey, we have a tunnel under the house now, and I just
Right.
wanted to.
Like, what's this shipping container being delivered with the big hole in the backyard? Like, what's this all about? It's like, yeah, nah, it's all about communication. It's all good.
Josh, both of you guys, whoever wants to answer it first, but well, I guess I'll ask Josh because I know Wired-Tight situation. But Josh, is your wife I didn't think, but like, is your wife supportive of prepping? Is she supportive of like
yeah,
prepping and all that? Go ahead.
to an extent, with food storage and stuff, for sure. I think she still doesn't see the need in the combat related stuff, because she's not seen the things that I've seen, and sometimes I have to like, okay, listen, let me tell you about this story or that story, and kind of put it into context. And then it's like, oh, okay. But until I explain the reason, this or that, we've had several things happen with a neighbor, with our crazy neighbor, which I've told stories about on my channel. And, she didn't understand why I did certain things to try to, get ahead of that until I explained, these, like, I guess you could say tactics and stuff to her and things I'd seen in Iraq and stuff as well. Then it's kind of like, oh, okay, like she's still kind of like whatever, but she at least she understands.
Real quick, Jay, could you hear anything that he just said at all?
So yeah, so I just hit a button and it turned everybody on.
Yeah,
So,
what's
Sweet.
up?
So yeah,
Nice.
yo.
Cool. I don't have to translate anything.
So I'm glad to be in here with Jay. Like we got almost half of the Raiders crew in here now. Me and Jay in here.
Right.
I told Josh that you guys have to transition that to Randall's Raiders since the Great Risky has retired.
What would we call him? What would that one be called? Like Randall's
Vandals.
Randall's retard.
I was gonna say Randall's gay
Randall's
pirates,
Vandals.
something like that.
I was gonna say you guys got to put something gay in there. I'm sure.
Randall's gay pirates.
Yeah, since Randall is the only gay one out of all of our channels, for sure. Yeah.
Randall's Booty Patrol. Oh man, the rainbows, dude! I don't know who was it
funny.
initially. I think it was Josh from Modern Frontiersman who said that I like having rainbows in my chat and in my comment section. But like every freaking video now, everyone drops the rainbows because of it.
Well, Randall dropped them in one of my lives first, I think. So then I started doing it back to him, and then it just spread from there, I think.
Man, if I could, I would vote some emojis to be totally taken off, and I would like the gun to be at least put back on.
That's
That
too
would be
violent, man. It scares the YouTube children.
Yeah, only the water gun is allowed now.
Triggering.
Yeah, Shaquille Oatmeal, which I just love this name, dude, and he's got great comments.
That picture is great.
Isn't it great? Shaquille Oatmeal says, dude.
I would have never thought of that.
No, it throws me off. I can't even focus when I read it. They
It's
love to
brilliant.
complain. He's talking about the wives. They love to complain until the power goes out and they're enjoying 3 box fans in the middle of the summer. But Wired Tight, I would ask you the same question. I know like what you're going through and stuff, but like when you guys were together and everything, was it something you were into at the time, or were you not as into it then, or even now? Like, what does she think of that? That's what you like to do and stuff. Is she cool with?
So when we first met, I was kind of taking a hiatus from it just because I was just focused on life stuff and honestly focused on her, you know. But like once we got into the swing of things and the relationship became comfortable and stable and normal, that's when I created, right? That's when I
Does it ever get stable and normal?
I don't know at this point because I thought so for sure. I thought so. But I started my channel about halfway through our relationship, and I don't know. I mean, I might have obsessed over it a little bit. I think she definitely felt like I didn't pay as much attention to her, and I was maybe putting too much into the whole YouTube thing and the training thing. But she never like outright said that she didn't like it. Like I've taken her to the range a number of times and she's enjoyed it. Like I was the first person to have her shoot a gun.
Nice.
You know, and like, I mean, she's shot ARs, she's shot AKs, she's shot full auto AKs with me.
Nice.
Loved it the whole time. So I don't know, man.
Now is she still kind of into it, or is it more just your thing? And...
no, I mean we're not together and we live in different states. So,
but I mean, like from when you talk to her, like do you think she preps at all, or she's into none of that?
No, not at all.
I usually tell all the fellas, and I tell everyone in the chat, so take the advice or leave it, but find yourself a country girl who was raised around guns, her dad likes to hunt, and it's totally normal to her.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping I find at some point in the future.
Yes, for sure. And I tell my wife all the time, she's perfect. The perfect storm.
So, if there's any single ladies in the chat,
all the single ladies.
Dude, who would love to see Wired Tight right there in that beautiful open living room do the whole single ladies dance?
I would. I'd vote for it.
Me too. I'd totally vote for it.
That would be
It's
your
funny, you know, like
1 million video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think like 0.5% of our subscribers are female, so the chances are very low.
Right.
Very low. I gotta say, there's a lot of like Grandma Merkel.
Yeah, we do have a few, yeah. Milkmaid, Roots.
Yep, Lady
which I don't
Smith,
think Milkmaid's in there. Yeah.
Virginia Roots. Dang, half my chat almost. But the prepping community, like I said, dude, they show up and show out. You guys are the best.
We
so
rock out with our.
Yeah. did you guys get to hear like some of the scenario stuff that I talked about with Jay that we were going through, or did you make it in at that time, or were you out?
No.
You guys missed
I was still at work.
I just finished up a stream on my channel.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, that's right. You were going live tonight. I barely make it in sometimes. I'm like the late night owl guy. So even Josh, when he goes on at 8, I'm like in the thick of dropping kids to bed and I have to replay it.
Yeah, I put mine to bed at like 7. Well, you're an hour ahead too, so
yeah. And I would love to be on the West Coast for streaming purposes only, because on the East Coast it's like I'm dead and everyone else is like bright awake and like got me by hours. But it is nice, like if I go live late, it's like the whole West Coast is got prime time. So it's a positive and a negative, I guess. But what I wanted to do while we got the 4 of us on here, and we've been going for 2 hours, so I don't want to keep Jay too long if he can't make it. But
yeah, I'll say you probably got me for 10 more minutes, I bet. And then I'm passing out.
War game.
Yeah, he's old.
A fictional scenario.
Hey, I am. I mean, you know what? I'm the one that my entire family makes fun of me because I fall asleep in my chair at 9 o'clock at night, and I'll wake up at like 11, and all the lights are off, and everything's locked up, and everyone's gone to bed, and I wake up and I'm like what the? And what happens is I make the mistake of kicking my feet up, and I get comfy, and that's it. Like I'm out. Yeah. And so everybody knows now that they just leave me where I lie, and that's it.
Dude, I'm not even that old, and I do the same thing. I'll fall asleep with a cup of coffee in my hands and toddlers jumping on my head, and I can sleep through the whole thing. I'm out. And then I wake up and got to feed the dogs and make sure everyone's tightened up.
Right.
All right, so 10 minutes. Why I got you. Pick a random fake scenario, come up with one in your mind, and ask the three of us. Something random. What would you do if XYZ? Put you on the spot.
Man.
And it can always start with one easy way to pick one is like, okay, let's say we're 6 months into SHTF, and I'll pick one then and we'll all four go through it. So we're 6 months into SHTF. You've been on lockdown. Your preps are still moderately good. You have another 2 months of stuff to go. You guys are all at your house, and all of a sudden someone comes knocking on your door, and it's a woman and a child with a broken arm. What do you guys do in that situation 6 months into SHTF? And I'll let Jay go first because I don't know if he'll make it through everybody's thing while we got him. You're at the farm, 6 months in, all kinds of crazy stuff has gone on. What do you do?
If it's legit, you're rendering aid, you're giving them a meal packet and sending them on their way.
Do you let the woman in also?
No, they never make it that far. Like you're gonna tender aid outside while you have somebody watching over you just in case it's a trick.
Mm-hmm. Smart move.
And then when you're just down and dirty guerrilla medicine and patch them up, splint it, whatever you have to do, reset it, whatever the extent is, and you give them each a meal packet and head that way.
All right.
That's.
Go ahead. Wired tight. What would you do?
Pretty close to the same thing. I was going to say I would render aid outside. I would splint the arm. I'd probably bring out some blankets and some pillows, and I'd let him sleep on the patio.
Okay.
Or out in the yard or something. But I would also make sure that there were people up all night on fire watch because it could be a trick.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have people up pulling security while they slept. And same thing, feed them. Like, give them something to eat, give them a place to crash outside.
Yep.
Not inside your gate or not inside your home, but outside. And then have people up ready to pull shifts on security just in case there are more people behind them.
Howdy, Maverick. All right, Josh, what about you? And then I'll have some alternatives of what goes on.
So yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement. Yeah, I would do the same thing. Splitting it up. I'd give them a bag of, like, I got bags of beans stacked up over here. I'd give them one of those little Mylar bags of beans.
Dry beans?
And juices. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yep. Boil that shit and get on.
Jack fucking dry beans.
Yeah, I mean, if,
Motherfuckers are
surely they
walking
got a
around,
way to
hey,
cook.
They're waiting 24
they've made
hours, soaking them in the fucking bag.
Carrying a 10-pound
Hey,
bag
they've
of
made it-
beans with them.
Hey, they've
Coop-
made it 6 months. They can make
Coop-
it another 24 hours to cook them.
Coop said to me, "You know, if she hot, you're bringing her in like a house cat."
All right,
But it would
so-
depend too, like whether I sent them on or not. It would depend on what was going on. I would think in my area they'd probably be fairly safe, and there's plenty of other stuff they could eat, wild stuff they could eat, water and everything. So
Would you?
I wouldn't
if you
even let them
sent them-
stay.
If you sent them on their way, would you send like a patrol to watch where they're going? Would you just send them on their way, or would you be like, hey, follow them, make sure keep your distance, but see where they're headed?
Yeah, you'd have to keep an element out of sight of them, making sure that when they round the bend, they're not meeting up with a group of 12 dudes
Exactly.
who are waiting to find a weak spot, basically using them as a probe
That's a
to
good
see
point.
yeah.
to see what kind of entry they're able to get. Because
Yeah,
if
they're
you
like,
because if
he's got a bunch of medical supplies. They got food.
they got food. Yep. Hey, we saw inside the door and we saw XYZ.
They're looking comfortable, like they've been eating good for 6
Yeah.
months. They're not skinny.
And that comes back to like that original scenario. Like, I mean, my responses were a little on the cold side,
They
but
gotta be.
you have to be. Like, I hate to say it, but like,
Mhm.
I'll be the asshole in that situation.
For sure. How about if you guys would you like hold them for 24 hours to see as well, or would you just send them
No.
and have someone watch them as they go?
Treat and send, and then observe. The more time that I think the more time they spend with you, the more you're opening yourself up to something, because now you're taking other people in your group. Now their attention is now off of what they should be doing, and everyone's attention all of a sudden is on this new chick and her kid. And you got dudes in your group who haven't had tail in 6 months now, and so like you open up all the doors, and like all of a sudden like your group is just gonna suffer because of it. So you got it down and dirty. The less time they're with you, the better.
But all of you guys would open the door and have a conversation with them and interact. Would you ask them any questions like, where have you guys been for the last 6 months? What have you been doing? Where have you been surviving?
Yeah.
I would find out what her background is too, because she might be somebody valuable to keep. If she's a doctor,
Yep, that's not a bad idea either.
And it's a chance you take. I mean, it's just, you got to weigh the pros and the cons of whatever. I mean, it's a tough one because every action is going to have a consequence. So it's just a matter of where your comfort level is with it.
So let's say she knocks on the door, you're looking out the window, you're like, what the hell is this? And how did you get to my spot without us even noticing you? And they knock,
right?
And yeah, because you'd have
security failure right there.
Right there, right? So you
might as well have those Secret Service chicks watching your front door.
You never know who you might have to pull on shift during 6 months of SHTF. Let's say you open the door, and the moment you guys open the door, 5 minutes, you're talking, you're like, what's going on with you, questioning them, and then out of the wood line or through a hidden means, about 12 dudes pop up, like you said, all armed, holding you guys down. Would you have would you regret opening the door for that person, or would you go into any security checks before you open the door, or like knowing now that that's a possibility of what's happening? Is there anything different that you guys would have done before you open the door and before you try to render aid or anything like that?
Fire the guy who was on security for the area that they came from, who missed them, number one. Like, like you got holes there all of a sudden now that have reared its ugly head.
Hold a hearing and wait for them to resign.
Yeah, right. Chastise them and call them gay until they quit.
So, knowing that, would you guys open the door, rely on that guy to have been watching the whole Overwatch, or would you do something different in like your approach for would you open the door with a rifle in your hands? Would you hold them down at gunpoint so that way you had, if that situation happened, then you'd say, look, y'all need to go, or this, at least she's going to be gone, or is there anything that you would do security wise instead of just opening the door and treating them like, I'm worried of you, but here's some beans and some medical?
I think it depends too, like where did they come from? So like in my situation, I already have it set up and planned in my area study on my maps of where I would place checkpoints in the roads. You know what I mean? Like have like OPs and have roadblocks. So if they came through one of those, you know what I mean? They radio in, hey, there's a woman and a man, or a woman and a kid, But if they came from the woods, like in between those where they could have easily just walked down the road and they come from, like out of the woods, like right up in the front of the house, I'm like, okay, like hold up right there. You know what I mean? Like, it seems kind of fishy if they didn't, come through one of those checkpoints.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I'm sure, Josh, you guys have a big group and a location and stuff, so you'd probably do something similar.
Which one? Me?
Yes. Wired tight.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I would say she shows up at the door and knocks. Probably have a whole team go outside and set up. Like, I mean, unless we already had guys in OPs around the property, like let's say everyone was in the house, there wasn't somebody out on a perimeter, I'd probably send a team outside to go set up a perimeter while whoever was rendering aid renders aid and talks to the people in question.
Lady Smith wants to know what would be the flag to not engage with her.
She's a redhead.
And holding her. She's a redhead.
Yeah. Gingers have no soul, so that's definitely the first flag.
I think the first red flag is you never received any communication from your security elements that there was a side check coming up to the door. I mean, that's the first red flag. Like, they're unexpected, number one, and they're unannounced, and nobody saw her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's that movie, like in the Book of Eli, like I don't know the science behind it and I don't care either, but if they're like shaking and stuff, they've been eating people.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Like if he's shaking and stuff, no, get out of here.
The belt fed would become live. Yeah, right?
I think you'd have to be weary of them right away.
Yeah.
If security has her get to the house, Moose Man says you've already lost. Linchpin, it could be a different group that just followed her also. I would be screwed if she was a redhead, just saying. CNT Designs.
Just saying.
Turn out all the lights. Does her eyes glow? Virginia Roots. Yeah, I mean, I do. All right. So now that I gave that example, do you guys have any other examples you'd like to throw out there? Nope. This is why everyone comes to the Red Dawn Readiness Live.
I think I'm gonna sign off, gentlemen.
You out of here?
Yeah, I got to get up at 6, go get ready to go to work and all that fun stuff. And it's only gonna be Thursday, so yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Well,
Like today,
Jay, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
I
for
appreciate
coming
you
on.
having me on. That was fun. That was good stuff. I will definitely want to do this again with you. That'll be good. I need to set aside time to get in on more lives with all of you guys, because like I miss out on a lot of those. So a lot of them because y'all do them late at night and I go to bed early, so that messes with me. We need like senior hours live or something, you know?
Yeah, like Sunday brunch hour.
Yeah, like before church, and it's
Cool. Well, if you find time, watch my live from last Friday, because we did about 5 scenarios that were all really cool, and thought-provoking stuff. But thank you, sir. I will be picking up your next Ace manual.
Guys.
Don't forget, guys.
Woo-hoo.
Sells them on his website, on Amazon. They're not too expensive, and they are worth the knowledge and wisdom that are in these books.
Yes,
so.
And we got a new one dropping, so that'll be cool. So yeah, good stuff.
Where can they find your newsletter?
It's at my on my Substack.
Okay, is it on your main page of your?
It's on my main page, like my campsite bio. It's on there, but if you just type in Substack Modern Minuteman, it'll pop right up, and then you can click on the thing for the newsletter. And I know I'm working on August's newsletter right now, and I'm having giant brain farts to come up with any ideas. So I don't know. I
have that problem every month, dude. It's real.
And I believe Modern Frontiersman, you also wrote a thing for him on his newsletter, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Was on mindset. Yeah.
Nice.
Now that's a good one. I think the mindset one is good. More people need to pay attention to that and think about that. It's huge, and I think the more we talk about it, maybe the more people will, take it into consideration, because mindset is a big aspect of this. You get like that first scenario that you threw out. It was like, you have to have a certain mindset to make certain decisions, and you can't wallow in that. So you gotta be mentally prepared as well. So it's all good stuff.
Tell people that mindset stuff could be the thing that'll break you. And that'll be the thing that'll break a lot of people.
I think James Lynch brings a good point right here too. Is I say give good tender aid, gather intel, resources visible should be minimal. I think that just before you go, Jay, if you ever get into this situation, I think that maybe rendering aid in a different location than where they came from also would be smart. Having like a ready room that's all they can see is this one room, or you block stuff off, so that way if this does happen, you have a room. And I think you bring them in, even because let's say you bring them in, you have someone at the ready on the woman, you render aid to the child, right? If someone starts coming out of the forest, you have both of them inside as captives. And then you also you set up a larger perimeter when it happens, because if you're all out and about and someone's rendering aid and your awareness is a little off, I think you would do better, even as long as you're not divulging too much stuff. I think you'd be good.
Right.
Not being out in the open doing the render aid thing.
Yeah. No, it's all good points. All good things to consider for sure.
Cool, man. Well, good Jay, stuff. Appreciate you.
All right, guys.
We'll probably not go much longer. I got to wrap it up myself. So.
Alrighty, dudes. It's been real. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Later, bro.
Good
Thank
to
you,
see you,
brother.
man.
Good
See
to
you
see
later.
you too.
Go follow the Modern Minuteman, y'all.
I love Jay. He's after Risky. I think he was the next other YouTuber I connected with and started working with. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is fantastic. What are some of your favorite channels? That's a good thing to talk about because I actually wanted to do a whole video on like just to put it out there of like these are the guys you should be looking at and checking in with on information. Is there anyone like maybe that we haven't had lives with on the regular who was like putting out good intel, good opinions? I know one dude who's been dropping a lot of good stuff right now is it Legally Armed America? He's been covering just a lot of stuff in regards to the Trump situation and staying on top of it and reaching out to people and trying to go on location and all that stuff. But is there anybody that you could think of that's like slept on YouTube? I mean, they might even be a big channel, but it's just not something that we all discuss all the time.
I mean, I really like Brent 0331.
Hell yeah.
He,
Me too.
Yeah.
he's a big channel, but like,
I miss his lives, honestly. I really loved his lives because they would actually dig into stuff. There was a lot of stuff happening at the time, and they would deal with current events and specific topics, and just with the type of dudes he had on there. He always had large panels as well. 5, 6 guys on a live, which was awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed getting in the few. What I think I did like 3 or 4 lives with him, and I always really enjoyed being on those panels. Those are always really good. Yeah, I like Brent's channel a lot too. It's like I've gotten flack before with my like raid series for just reading stuff out of field manuals and stuff. But that's exactly what Brent's doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. Teaching stuff out of those manuals. Where do you think the military gets it from? From those manuals, But one channel I really like a lot and I followed for a long time and I've made a personal connection with. There's this channel called Farmhand's Companion. It's not a prepping channel or anything, but I don't know if y'all ever heard of it or not. But it's basically just old school farming and how building pole barns. And just a lot of good. He doesn't talk. It's kind of comical, but it's just music that he's made himself and just showing how he built his farm and how he does everything. And it's invaluable because it's like if you could watch a video of like the Foxfire series, like that's what it is. Just some old school, just living techniques, I think a lot of people in the
Go ahead, Josh. My bad.
I think a lot of people should, all the tactical stuff and all that's cool, but I think a lot of those channels too are really important for people to watch. And My Self-Reliance is another one. Dude's up in Canada, I think. I really enjoy that. I watch a lot of those kind of channels more than I do like gun channels.
I really like. There's a channel called SAWS, SAWS. It's Survival Application Weapon Systems. Have you ever listened to him?
No, but I'm gonna check them out.
Yeah, you should check him out. I'll drop a link.
There's another good channel who does like really quick reviews on like how to grow stuff from seeds and how to maintain plants and stuff called Creative_Explained. And his shorts and stuff are like millions of views. So a lot of people have probably seen them, but if you haven't, you should definitely subscribe to Creative_Explained. The dude's like doesn't drag anything. Like if you want to know how to seed something or what you should do with any kind of plant, he's pretty much covered all of it.
There's another channel, and I shouldn't bring it up because I don't remember his name exactly, but he's a Scandinavian guy, and he does a lot of bushcraft.
Yeah.
Bjorn.
Yes.
Damn it! I watch every video he puts out. I can't think of what he's got 2 channels. It's Bjorn something. I'm sure it'll pop up if anybody just searches Bjorn.
Yeah, Bjorn, and then the Preppers Bunker Outdoors.
Nice.
Have you ever checked them out?
I don't know if I have, man.
That sounds familiar.
That's why I'm asking you guys. I just created the new backup channel, Red Dawn Republic, and it was strange, like having another channel to go to, and like I'm not following anyone yet, and so like first thing I did was like Wiretype, Modern Frontiersman, oh my gosh, DLD, the Modern Minuteman, Grunt Proof, like pretty much everyone that is in the group chats, and I was just like, there it is, Bull Hansen, that's right.
Yes.
Bjorn Bull Hansen.
That's it.
Yeah, he's got a great channel. And Bjorn Talks. I think those are his two channels.
Bjorn.
I'm American, dog. That's how we say, what's up, Bjorn? So Bjorn.
Oh yeah, I forgot you hate everybody that's not American.
Yeah. That's right. If you're not American, fucking
fuck you. If you ain't American, fuck you.
Hey, he said it. He said it.
JK, LOL.
Yeah, no, I love anyone that comes from a country without a Second Amendment. You guys are great. Great influences on the world.
Yeah, Trench Grenade's good too.
For sure. Trench Grenade. There's Prepper Bunker Outdoors. Yeah, I mean, I like learning stuff, but it was, like I said, it was just weird creating a new channel and going there and being like, oh my God, I guess I just see what the algorithm sends. But that didn't last long. I think I took one peek and was like, nah, give me back all my stuff I watched. And I my channel I've had now, dude, I probably follow hundreds of different channels. But a lot of people I think I follow, they don't even post anymore.
To be honest, most of the time, other than like those handful, like Bjorn and the two Farmhands Companion, the few that I mentioned, I don't watch very many other channels except for ours. I kind of feel like we've sort of created this sort of undergroundish, space within this space, and I dig it. I do too. I know Randall's the same way. He only watches all of our videos. He doesn't watch anything else.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was telling Jay, because he asked me what got me doing live streams, and there was a group of preppers that used to do that all the time. It was Native Voice, Backwoods and Prepping, Hutch, Just Josh, Prepper Tribe, Prepping Outside the Box, and they do lives together just all the time. They'd have panels of these dudes. They'd have their own shows going on, and for years it was just fantastic. And then other prepping channels started like adding in and being like special guests and being on stuff, and then everything kind of broke apart and had some stuff going on over there. But there's still, like, to this day, that was like my favorite thing on YouTube, was like channels that have the similar mindset come together and just share their differences in opinions about certain topics and wargaming ideas and thought-provoking things, and even current events. Like, we could dabble into one right now, and I'd say we'll go another like 15 minutes. But who do you guys think Kamala might pick as vice president?
Oh shit.
Hillary.
She'd have to watch her back.
Gross.
Bro, could you imagine?
I don't know
the body count that Hillary's got, and then you make her your VP, boy. You better watch your back, even in the shower.
Yeah. No, I really don't know. I mean, like, they don't have any good options. Kamala herself is a terrible option.
Scoot says Montel Williams. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Marfugal TV is good too. He does really late lives. I don't. He's like pushed it back super late, but yeah, I like Marfugal.
Bro, what if she put up AOC?
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
I could actually see her doing that.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say she picks AOC.
Oh God, no.
Imagine those two together. That would be disastrous.
Their IQ combined might not even equal what Joe Biden's IQ is. That's how stupid the ticket is.
Harris Cortez.
No, that's like
that.
Like I say, I really do think that she's more dangerous. You know, she's way more dangerous than Biden is.
Oh, absolutely, because she's soulless. She's 100% like, please someone tell me what to do, because I haven't been in politics as long as Joe. Joe, at least, you know, he's like set in his ways of corruption. You know, where she is like I have the power now. You know, where it's like,
yeah, even she just, you look in her eyes, you could tell she's crazy as hell.
Somebody, I don't know if you guys saw the short that I did where it was her saying the same saying over and over and over again. It's like the only smart saying she can say. So she says it every time she talks. But this guy commented that Larry Hogan for vice president. Do you guys even know who that is? He's from Maryland, a senator from Maryland.
No idea.
So I guess he served 2 Trumps as a Republican governor of Maryland. And Maryland's like super blue. So I've never really heard of him, but I will, you know, that's one thing nice about dropping. It's funny when I drop like certain political shorts and stuff, I'll get the other side gets them. Like I get lefties all the time getting my shorts. And then, you know, my normal followers and people that are on my channel rip them up, which is great.
Bro, dude, I know, like the short I did about carrying the pistol in Atlanta, like, oh my gosh, I got blown up with libtards.
Really?
Yeah, but I disabled comments. That's the first time I've ever done that before, but it just got too annoying. You know, the constant notifications.
Oh my goodness. I hope I get to that point. That would be fun. I like the controversy though. Although I was in some dude's live, I don't know where I came across, but he was like playing Trump and just supporting Trump, black dude. And he had the live comments going on a vertical live, and so many people were like, Harris 2024. And that's the extent of what they can say good about her, is just, I pick her, I stupid.
Yeah.
What's up, Ghost Prepper? I was talking about you tonight, bro. Ghost also has ghostdesigns.shop, and he makes shirts for creator channels and like kind of like what our boy Jay was talking about today. Ghost started that with all these prepper channels where he started his own. He does it also like for local businesses and schools and stuff that are around him, but he does shirt designs. If you guys saw on my community page, I posted one of his shorts. I got a shirt from Ghost that week and a shirt from Lynchpin Supplies, who I think maybe Lynchpin is still in here, from Ghost and
I'm
Lynchpin
sure he
Supplies.
is. He's driving.
Yeah.
Yep. Y'all go to Lynchpin. This is where this British TPM come from too.
Nice.
It's even got the British flag still on it and everything, huh? Go check them out.
Yeah. You know, I'd be ripping that bitch off. That's the one thing I'd be cutting. I'd be like, I ain't wearing that fucking flag, fucking red coats. I can't even listen to podcasts with people with British accents. I'm just disgusted. I'm like, I don't know why y'all talking shit.
DJ said the same thing, because I shared a British channel with him the other day that I really like, and he's like, I can't watch that. I hate the accent.
That's how I am with people from New Zealand.
Isn't it the same as Australian?
It's very close. Their E's are a lot more exaggerated.
Yeah,
I have a hard time listening to an Indian accent.
Indians can sound funny though. Like at least sometimes I can laugh at it. But like British, I'm just like, why are you talking like you're some like royal faggot with a castle? Shut up! Stop talking like that. Just talk, bro. Just freaking talk. Stop. It's like, why do you talk like that? I just don't get it. Like, we don't live in that time anymore, bro. Why don't you get yourself a white little wig? Why y'all still talking like that? With never mind. I won't go there.
Interesting fact I found out. Did you know that that the accent was made up? They didn't always talk that way.
I did know that.
Yeah.
Yep. Just to
they used to speak like we do, actually, or I guess more like the Irish. And yeah, they thought it sounded fancy. Somebody did it, so people started copying it.
Yeah, it's almost like our New York accents that people have, where you're just like, you don't need that. Still, though, the Midwest is the worst accent. I take someone straight out the bayou and talk to them all day, but that Wisconsin, I'm like, bro, it's Wisconsin. Just read the freaking sound it out, bro. Sound it out. Wisconsin, not Wisconsin. Like, there is no syllable that says can. It's funny. I wonder if when people have these accents, if like when they're kids, because I know when you're a kid, you kind of just pick up how your parents talk. But like when you're learning to speak and it's like, do the syllables, sound it out. If they like say stuff like that, like Wisconsin. Like,
and there goes half your subscribers.
Nah, they like my comedy, y'all. You know I love everybody. I just tease sometimes. I was the youngest in my family. Teasing is like you guys in the military. Like everyone likes to joke. I'm cool with joking. Like we're allowed to laugh and have some fun. As long as you love the Constitution, I love you.
Unless you're British.
They don't have a constitution. The whole reason we had to write one is because of them. It's like anyways. So there would be, I agree with you, if I was gonna go somewhere in the world, I would go to like the Mecca of everything. I would want to go to like Jordan and that whole Middle East area. To me is like by far the most interesting.
Dubai.
Oh no, I wouldn't go there at all.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't step foot into
It's too fancy.
Yeah, that shit's too fancy for me too.
I tell you, I've always wanted to go to Wadi Rum, where they have the Bedouin tribes still live out there the way they have for thousands of years. You can go actually stay with them and part of their law is kind of like in Afghanistan, where if they invite you in, they will not tell you to leave. You basically go stay with them for as long as you want to.
That's not the tribe that like when you show up and the airplanes fly overhead, they're like trying to throw spears at you and shit.
No, it's in Jordan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're still just like sheep Bedouin tribes still living out in the desert.
Yeah, that's dope. I like that kind of stuff. I want to.
Yeah, they're super cool. I've seen a lot of videos of people going to stay like a week with them and stuff.
Military and construction workers have the same sense of humor. It's just too much testosterone around all the time.
And alcohol.
I wonder, and it's probably been a while, but like, I wonder if like liberal dudes that all hang out, what their sense of humor is like.
I bet they don't make gay jokes.
They don't.
No, they make them seriously.
That's not funny. There's nothing funny about someone's sexuality.
How could you say such a thing? People should be able to identify as what they want.
can
They make
identify
fun-
these nuts.
They make fun of guys like us. is
I
what
would
they do.
love to
Mhm.
just see them do it one time. Like, what do they do?
They impersonate toxic masculinity, I bet.
I'm gonna get some baggier jeans this weekend.
Yeah. Want to go to the gym?
They paint their nails black in their mom's basement.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were actually gonna order a real steak for a second. No, only beyond me.
I need my daily dose of soy and estrogen.
Oh man. Well, welcome to Red Dawn Readiness, y'all, where we have a good time and laugh about how shitty the world has gotten at times. And if shift will suck no matter where you go, we are one. Yes, that is true. We will take care of the effeminate men in shift. Maybe. Now,
I don't think they'll make it to me.
I think they'll take care of themselves. I think natural selection will do its part.
Bro, you got to remember there's a whole market out there, and I forget who said it. I know DLD said it before, but like, people will be selling that thing for freaking beans and band-aids, and even the dudes will probably be doing it too at that point.
Ugh.
Talk about the dark ages. No wonder it was called the dark ages. They were all hiding in the closets. Anyways, I'm just teasing y'all. It's just fun to laugh sometimes. Comedy's kind of dead. And yeah. So this is Red Dawn Readiness with your daily dose of post-apocalyptic fictional comedic relief. And we'll see you on the next one. Y'all can stick around for a minute if you like. Over and out.
That's pretty cool though.
Spent a little bit of light trying to find my heart. Funny when I break out a lifestyle dark. Honey when I rank in a tight flow spark. When a psycho drop, playing dice go starter. Who are you? Better know yourself. Know your soul, gotta know your wealth. So you better know your mother. Don't you follow you like hell. Who am I? Am I me? I'm not the one you wanna fuck with. Late nights messing up my sleep, so I'm flustered. Taking out aggression with my pen because I trust it.